Ladies and gentlemen, it's time once again for that Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time stream of What's 3D Printing? Maybe I should have gotten Dave to do that.
And then save it for future reference.
There's so many buttons that you got to click to do anything like that. But so hello, everybody, and welcome to What's 3D Printing, typically with myself, Glenn from Fun King 3D, and James from Print and Play. And today we have a very special guest. And don't let that make your head get big, Dave, because
too late.
Every guest that we have, I say that they're a special guest. So.
Yeah, you giveth and you taketh away.
Sometimes, yes. We want everybody to feel special around here because most of the people around here are special. So, but yeah, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
I imagine this will be a high point in your career doing a live stream with James Cameron, right? A Canadian James Cameron.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just don't clarify anywhere beyond that point.
Of course, I've worked with James Cameron. I had a long conversation with him.
We have lots in common. We love video games.
We love video games. Yeah. Retro video games.
I put it on my resume, so
it's good for our career. It's very good for my career to be here, I think definitely. Yeah.
I met Brent Spiner at one point and he said, "Oh, what's your name?" I said, "Oh, it's James Cameron." He goes, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your work." It's like, you can tell everybody I'm a big fan of yours. That's fine.
That's good. I didn't actually know that Cameron was your second name, so now I'll totally use that.
Yeah, I for a long time I was like against it, and like you go by J Cameron on Facebook because if you look for James Cameron, he's the only person that pops up everywhere.
Oh, that's true. That's gotta suck for trying to like search engine stuff for your.
The only time it off for me was like end of elementary school, beginning of high school, when Titanic came out, and all the girls loved Titanic. And like, do you know you have the same name as the director of Titanic? Are you related to him? It was like my 15 minutes of fame was, vicariously through him.
Yeah, I'm related to him, and they named me after him.
Yep.
Although to be fair, I was named after my grandfather, who was also David Hewlett. So
there you go. Yeah.
It's very confusing.
I think Glenn's going back to
That's it. We're out of conversation. That's great.
That's it.
That's it. We're at awkward silence already.
I'm dealing with my kid who decides to wait until we're live before he comes and asks me questions.
Oh, Baz will be down in a second, just sort of like, as he puts it, quietly game.
Yeah. Everybody can subscribe from Xander.
Yeah.
Well, Xander used to sit on the other side. This is my stairwell back here, and he used to be on the other side of that, which was fine. But now he's about 5 feet right there on the other side of me. So
we call that Nerf distance where I come from.
Nerd distance?
Nerf. Or Nerf.
Well, yeah, I threw nerds at him last night. So.
Right.
But yeah, now that he's that close, he can't, during streams and stuff, he can't make any noise over there. So
yeah, Baz is struggling with that too, because I think we have much the same Genesis story here. In that I was really hoping when I got back into all this geeky stuff that the reason for it was to get Baz, my son, involved, and he's like, yeah, whatever, Dad. Yeah, have fun, Dad. So
yeah,
resorting.
When we started Fun King 3D, the whole purpose of the YouTube channel, I didn't have any desire to have a YouTube channel. I knew how much work it was, and I was going to buy the 3D printer. And I said to Xander, hey, how about if we get the 3D printer, we'll do a YouTube channel? And he just like immediately became like my bestest friend ever. He didn't leave my side for a whole week. That's all he wanted to talk about was the YouTube
channel. Yeah.
I care about the 3D printing side of it. He just wanted the YouTube channel side of it. And here we are 3 years later, and now he doesn't want to do nothing.
Well, this is the funny thing though, is because it's definitely like Baz is now like YouTube is not, YouTube's like just not where it's at for him now. Like it's all Twitch. He got me doing Twitch. But I got to say, I'm really enjoying it. Like I do both now.
You're Ironham TV on Twitch?
Yeah, Ironham TV. That's Baz. Like that's just Baz's channel. He got me onto it, and then I sort of committed to it because it's like it's so hard to find things you can do where you can actually bond with the kid on. I mean, I'm like the least sporty man alive. Like I can't do, I can do video games, but I can't do like basketball. I suck at all that crap. So I'll try.
And I suck at all that, but my kid doesn't get out and do it anyway. So
yeah, that's basically where I'm at too.
Yeah.
I feel like those brief moments that he takes an interest is kind of fun. So and we have a lot of fun gaming together now, I gotta say. Although God, I have had to talk to him because it's like, dude, like first off, I'm your father. Second off, we're live, and you gotta like check the attitude. Holy moly, like it's like, well, you suck at everything, so I guess play whatever you want. You're like, dude, come on. So,
you know how emasculating that is?
Yes, he does exactly know.
When Xander and I first got started, now again, that was 3 years ago, so he was 10. Like he was just turning 10 years old. And when we first got started, there was numerous occasions that I can remember saying to him, now, be serious. We have to be professional about this. We can't screw around. And now that's all our channel is.
Just screwing up. Yeah. But that's the neat thing about it is like, it took me a long time to get my head around it. Because when I first started using YouTube, it was like, I thought it was just another way. It was like a place to put videos, right? It's just a place free videos, put your videos up and people might look at them. And then you sort of get this sense of community about it. And that's where you realize why it's so addictive. It's so empowering and stuff. It's just all of a sudden you have these like little communities, little families start forming. And with the Stargate, the Stargate folks are all like fellow nerds, right? So it's just it's a great little family we get.
Nerds watch Stargate?
Yeah, apparently. And non-nerds. That's the weird thing is like, I meet people who you're just like, I just couldn't imagine them watching Stargate, but they do, so I don't, who am I to argue? Yeah.
Well, we have our own little family, which is, I don't know if you have the chat pulled up at the same time.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. How do I do? I guess I should go to live comments, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
I'm not used to this. Oh, there you go. Hey, look, there's everybody.
Yeah.
And are you using your lav mic right now?
Am I what?
I was asking Glenn if he's using his lav mic. His audio sounds different than normal, and somebody asked if your OBS was using your lav or not.
Hey, BV3D's here.
Brian Vines.
Brian.
How does it sound different? Like,
it sounded almost more compressed, and it was cutting out on the highs and the lows.
Oh, what's really crazy is my mic's not even on. I don't know what I'm using as a mic source at all.
It sounds like a webcam mic, to be honest.
It's in the house. It's
probably this.
The phone call's coming from inside the house.
That's it.
A moment and I will switch.
I've been watching nothing but horror movies. I've just been doing that's every night. I go to bed way too late, usually because I'm working on like the website or something, and or writing little tech bandit stuff. And so I end up like to wind down, as I put it, I watch horror movies, and I'm just like on edge all the time now because every movie I see is like, it's got some kind of like. The last one I was watching, they were renovating a house, and of course today I go down and start working on stuff around the house. I'm like, oh, right. I guess I have to be slightly aware that I'm not going to be murdered by a ghost in a second.
Yeah.
Well, you hope not.
I hope not. Exactly. Yeah. Or maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just looking for the excitement. The microphone. It's coming from inside the house. Thank you, Brian.
Is this audio better?
Yes.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me ahead of time, you two.
I don't know. I mean,
what do I know?
You never sound great. So.
I'm just an actor. That's not my problem. That's not my department.
I remember the first time we watched what was that horror movie? Paranormal Activity.
Oh God, yeah.
My wife and I were living in an apartment building, and we started watching it. We were doing laundry. It was like a late night thing, and so 1:00 in the morning, we're still doing laundry, and we finished watching the movie at 1:00, and then she's like, "Well, we got to go down and get the stuff out of the dryer," and I'm like, she's like. Can you come with me? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
And we walk up, and I purposely let her walk ahead of me, and then I start dragging my feet, and she's like, stop. I'm like, what? And then we go get the laundry, we come back, we go to bed, and then as we're in bed, I reach over into the end table. I'm just like,
yeah. I can't do that because what'll happen is my son will do it back to me, and I'll have a heart attack and die.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
So I just stopped doing it.
When my wife and I were first dating, we'd gone to the movies, and there was a preview for the movie Ghost Ship. It was just the preview.
I rewatched the movie recently. It's terrible.
She was clawed into my arm, so I had blood. She was drawing blood for the preview, and I said, Good to know. We never go to a horror movie.
Never horror movies. Yeah, never gonna work.
I rewatched that movie about 6 months ago because, like, as a kid, I was like, "Oh, this is like one of the scariest movies I've ever seen." It's so bad. That's the one that starts off. I don't know if you've seen it, but it starts off. They like cut the high tension line on a boat, and there's all the people on the boat are dancing, like it's like this couples dance or whatever, and the cord just runs across and cuts everybody in half. And there's like,
I do remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like this pause where everybody's like looking at each other, and then it's like that scene in the first Resident Evil movie with the lasers.
Oh, right. You know that was get this on the commentary. They actually mentioned the director mentioned that he was inspired by Cube, which was my friend Vincenzo's movie, where they chopped the guy into little pieces, and that's where they got the laser idea for that one.
I've watched and Hypercube.
I haven't watched the other ones. I've only watched the only one that I was involved in that my friends were involved was the first one. The other ones were all distributors trying to make more money on the other ones. So I can't speak to them.
That's tradition.
That's it. It's the way it works, right?
I
heard the last one was the best of the bunch.
Was that
was it Cube Zero?
Evolution or I don't know.
I think it was Cube Zero, I think.
I watched the first two long time ago.
Yeah.
The first one, like you said, it was good. The second one was it was a cash in. It wasn't even a cash out because I don't think it did like spectacular, but
wasn't it like there was like there's another dimension or I was like what?
Yeah,
something I can't remember what it was. Yeah. All right. Sorry, we should talk 3D printing, shouldn't we? I've already taken us off topic. Remember that?
Why would we start now?
That's true. You know, I'm embarrassed because behind me, I'm like trying to shield it with my body, which isn't hard nowadays. That's my Prusa. I still haven't built it. That's the new Prusa that I got sent with the MMU.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't got around to building it yet. So I've got to get on. It took me forever to get. I had a little CNC, SainSmart CNC that I set up, which I love. I got to say, it's a cheap little thing. And SainSmart were very sweet. I said, like, look, I do this stuff with kids. Could you send one so that we can goof around with it? And they were like, okay. They sent one. And then I paid a little extra and I got the laser for it. So I gotta get that sorted out. Jane's a little worried about lasers in the basement. I think she's a bit concerned about that.
Just point them at your eyes or look at them directly or
burn the house down, basically.
I ordered a Prusa. I ordered a Prusa Mark 3S 6 or 7 weeks ago. It hasn't shipped yet. So
oh wow. Okay.
My birthday's coming up. I was hoping to build it on my birthday, but I contacted them and they said it probably won't ship to the end of next week, which means it won't be here in time. So
oh no, when's birthday?
June 22nd.
June 22nd, very good.
A week from Monday. A week from tomorrow.
The COVID birthdays. I had an April one. It was like the best birthday ever because there was no obligation to do any kind of like party, no nothing. I could just watch movies and eat.
Is it terrible how many of your birthdays end up being an obligation for you to do things with other people?
I hate birthdays. Hate birthdays.
Not that I mind that, but it's the like I love social gatherings. I love hanging out with my friends. It's the you have to do, and it's like, oh, okay, this is for everybody else but me.
You know, oddly enough, nobody ever invites me over on my birthday. It's on Christmas. Nobody wants to deal with me.
That'll do it. Your birthday's actually on Christmas Day?
Yeah, Christmas Day.
Oh man, that sucks. You get a lot of those like, it's a birthday Christmas present.
Actually, my parents were always really good about not doing that. When I was growing up, Christmas was until noon, and then from noon on was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And then when I turned, 16 or 17, I decided I didn't want birthdays anymore. So we just stopped celebrating.
That's why he looks like he's so young. He stopped aging.
That's right.
Yeah, just stopped aging right then. There's a painting somewhere. There's a painting somewhere that looks way worse.
Yep.
Yeah, no, the only year they ever aged. What's that?
What was that from where the painting aged instead of the person?
Portrait of Dorian Gray.
I was like, I know I've seen that. I know that reference. I just can't put my finger on it. Yeah.
I use it all the time because like because so many people in my industry just don't age. So I'm convinced that they have, that either they have the painting at home or I am the painting. I'm aging for all of my actor friends.
What I find interesting is where you've got an actor that doesn't age until they're 65, and then it's like you see them between 65 and 66, and it's all caught up to them in one shot.
They're
like,
mummified,
somebody found the painting and destroyed it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's basically that's the stage I'm at. It's God, what was that? I don't think I've ever read it. I think I actually shamefully, I think I read a comic book. I think when I read one of those like Golden Key classics where there's a number of these like classic books that I remember in high school being asked about having read them, and I was like, yeah, no, I've read those ones. The Count of Monte Cristo, all those ones, I've read them. I'd read them as comic books. Like, I literally read the comic book version.
Remember the old Canadian part of our heritage? The medium is the message.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So this week was bad week for me. My cat got super sick. Like Saturday, we were bringing her to the vet. The short form is that we Googled all of her symptoms and found this giant case study on specifically what was wrong, like her symptom list. And it was like, basically prognosis is very bad. It was 1 in 60 cats was expected to be alive after 1 year. And the mean, like the average age was 3 weeks after onset of symptoms.
Yeah.
So, and she's a very stressed cat. So we brought her to the vet on Wednesday, and she was so stressed that they couldn't even sedate her to examine her.
Wow.
And Saturday we bring her back, and they've given us an oral sedative for her. And so we gave it to her in the morning. She's like dopey, barely able to walk and stuff like that. As soon as they picked up her cage, she snapped completely out of it, and it was like she hadn't been sedated. So they ended up having to put her cage in a garbage bag and pump gas in until she fell asleep.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's how stressed she is. But so, my wife and I are teary-eyed. We both say goodbye to her on Saturday morning. We're dropping her off at the vet. I say to the vet tech, like, if she has to be put down, because they wouldn't allow you in, right? Like they come take the cat out of the car.
Right.
Anyways, all that to say, the summary there is Mika is actually fine. She had 2 different types of infection, 2 other things that were wrong with her that all basically summarized to making it look like that she had a larger issue than she had.
Oh, wow.
So she's home now.
Right.
Yeah. But so Thursday night, I think it was, we've brought her home from the first vet visit. She's stressed out. She gets herself comfortable and she's okay for a little bit. And I bought myself a nerdy comic book it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Meet the Ghostbusters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And It's like 105-page book. I'm like, I've got this book. I'm just going to curl up in bed with the cat. I'll keep her company. I'm going to read the comic. I got halfway through and the binding let go and all the pages fell out and none of them are numbered.
Oh no!
It's a choose your own adventure.
I was gonna say exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Just shuffle them up and hope for the best.
Yeah, you can choose what happens.
And you go, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good story, and you start to put it in there, and then
it's like trying to read Baz's anime stuff. Like I can't, or manga stuff. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to start at the back, and I know I'm supposed to work a certain way. I cannot. My head just won't. I keep screwing it up. I keep going like, huh? I don't understand what's going on. And like, Baz, what happened? And he's like, oh no, you got to read this part. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I can't get my head around it. It's just, I think it's just like conditioning or something.
Yeah, you get so used to doing something a certain way, and then.
Well, they say that apparently with kids and like if you reverse, so if you put a kid in a car and let them drive, not a good idea with a real car, but like in a simulator perhaps, let them drive. They are a worse driver than you are when they're like younger. But if you reverse all of the controls, grown-ups don't stand a chance. They cannot, like they just, because you're so conditioned.
I actually saw an interesting video on that. This guy does a TED Talk. He built a bike that's impossible to ride. And all he did was put a gearing system between this on the steering so that when you turn it left, the wheel goes right. And when you turn it right, the wheel goes left. So he hands it over to people and everybody's like, I can figure this out. And the thing is, and they'll get on it and they'll get balanced and they'll start pedaling and they'll start moving. But as soon as the bike rocks a little and you've ingrained this, how you balance on it, right? And part of the balancing is adjusting using the, so they start to tilt left, they turn the right wheel right. And instead they increase the tilt and they end up falling.
Huh.
So another guy saw this video and was like, I'm going to learn how to do this. And he spent 6 months teaching himself. And he's got all this footage in his video of him just falling off, riding into trees and stuff like that. Finally got it down to the point he can ride it as well as a regular bike. He said, well, the final kick in the pants was he went to Italy and they were doing a bike tour. So he rents a bike, gets onto a regular bike for the first time. And he lost the ability to ride a regular bike. He gets on it. First thing he does, he falls. He said, and it took 15 minutes of being on, and then all of a sudden things kind of just snap back to normal. But he says he can't go back and forth between the two without there being some sort of intermix in between.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I mean, that's the classic driving on the other side of the road too, right? Where I cannot get my head around it. Yeah. Luckily Jane prefers driving anyways to not. So she tends to do the driving, but I can't get my head around it. Anyone notice the 2 Canadians are keeping Glenn from getting a word in edgewise? It's true. Absolutely true.
We had agreement. We've been chatting on Twitter. We had an agreement beforehand that we were gonna cancel them out, and we weren't going to be sorry about it.
The Canadian conspiracy.
You were going to be sorry about it. So James and I were on Twitter and we were talking, and I said, "Wait a minute, Dave's Canadian, isn't he?" And I said, "Oh, I'm outnumbered." Oh.
Well, except I'm Canadian, British, and American. Like I have 3 passports. I literally have 3 passports.
Which one was the first one?
Oh, which one should I pick on you for? But no,
Britain. I was born in England.
Okay.
It's funny because I pick on James all the time for being Canadian. It's just something I've always done with James, and I had made a comment. Oh, he had a new logo done by a mutual friend of ours, and it has the maple leaf on it. And I'm like, oh, you Canadians and your stupid maple leaf. Totally tongue in cheek. James understood the joke. I didn't really that was it. I dropped it after that. I didn't carry it through or say, I'm just kidding. And I took heat for it.
Of course he did.
It's like some guy was like, oh, well, maybe I'll say, like stupid stars and stripes or whatever. And I'm like, wow, I said, I hope you're kidding, because it was completely tongue in cheek, but I don't have any problem with the maple leaf. Who cares? It's
a funny thing because we definitely we diss Canada all the time up in Canada, all the time. But God forbid an American do that, then you're going down in flames. It's like we define ourselves by being not American. I sort of grew up. I grew up believing that America was just this this place that you just didn't want. There's Canada. That's where they got it right. And then of course, when I actually moved, I lived in the States for years. And so it was like an eye opener to me. I was like, hey, not everybody's an idiot, and not everybody Canada's got this this attitude about America, Well, yes.
Majority, maybe.
Depends. Yeah, it depends. I'm a spy. It's true. I'm a spy in 3 countries. It's so true. Where are you based then, Glenn?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how fantastic, but it's
you're opening up now, aren't you opening up now? Isn't that
oh my gosh, yeah. They were like Corona what?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so where I live is actually a huge retirement area.
Yeah, it's called Florida.
well, but inside of Florida there is one. I'm not going to call it a town. I mean, they've become kind of a town, but it's called The Villages. And it started as a neighborhood, and a developer came in and just started building more and more and more and more. And I forget how many houses are in there now, but it's all snowbirds, and retirees, and they're gated communities, and they cater to them so much that they live in this little bubble, and it's horrific, except for in the middle of summer when they all go home. But
because it's just too hot?
Well, I suppose, yeah, they come down here for the winter time, and then they go home when it's warm here and warmer up north.
Right.
But which I don't know. I mean, it's gotten to the point where more and more of them are staying full time. But so it was kind of a big concern for the virus to hit here, because it could have wiped out the majority of our population.
Right.
Which would not be good for our economic growth. Right. So, but knock on simulated wood, we've actually done pretty well in this area but I haven't left my house much.
I didn't before either, though, to be fair.
Well, I didn't like it. It was a great excuse not to go anywhere. Well, in fact, Google emailed me my map history for the month of May, and it was one location.
Oh, man, I should totally look that up. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it was just work, which is home. I work from home. So it was just one point on the map. I never went anywhere, and it was perfect. But I've been out now in the last couple of weeks. I've been out a couple of times to pick up food and whatever. And
you do masks and gloves and all that kind of stuff? Are you doing that?
Well, if I get out of the car, I wear a mask. I'm diabetic, so my immune system is crap anyway. So I'm a little bit more protective, but it's amazing, even here in a retirement neighborhood, a retirement area, that they're not taking it serious. Nobody's got masks on. They're all standing in tight groups, and, they're at bars packed shoulder to shoulder. And, it's
it's not that bad here, but I was amazed when I go out how few people are wearing masks. And we're still in lockdown, right? We're still in certainly Toronto.
Yeah, you're in I'm in Ottawa, so we're faced.
Yeah.
But yeah, Toronto, Hamilton, and basically all the greater Toronto area is essentially still in. It's kind of like phase 1.5 because I think the daycares and stuff are now allowed to open. But
I'm curious to see what's going to happen because I just don't get it. I don't understand like what's changed. Like, I mean, I guess we know a little bit more about it, but it's I'm just amazed. I mean, I said to Baz because we went out the other day and Jane's like, sewn all these really cool like face masks with like, tigers on them or motorcycles and stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, if we're the only idiots out there with masks on, I was like, we got to go full Bane on this. Yeah, like, we got to go. I want to go full cyberpunk, like Dark Knight. I want freaking LEDs and like smoke, and like I want to make the most of this. So
I saw a video the other day of a guy, and he's trying on this mask that he ordered, and his daughter's recording him, and she's got like commentary playing at the bottom, and basically it's like, I don't have the heart to tell him that what he's ordered is a BDSM mask, and it's got like rivets and stuff on it. He's putting on it's all leather, and I'm like, if you were a good daughter, you would tell him, but I understand not telling him.
That's pretty good. Hey, same old Shane. Talking about Prusa, same old Shane was like instrumental in getting me that Prusa.
Shane's a good guy.
He's the best.
Practically Canadian.
Is he? He's like honorary Canadian?
In terms of his politeness level, absolutely.
Oh, I got you. Because he's a Floridian too.
Oh, is he? Oh, there you go. So
he lives about 15 minutes from me.
Maybe it's just all that Canadian influence down there. You guys are slowly learning, like
could be.
That Canada is going to overtake. Is going to take over everything.
We know that when we see the Ontario license plates, we get off the road because those guys can't drive.
Oh my God, that is so true. You know what? That is kind of true.
I won't
from Ontario.
I won't pick on any specific province. But there was a province that I've made comments about in the past, not in these videos because I won't do it online. So we went to a video game tournament in New Hampshire, and we stopped at McDonald's on the way there. And we pulled into the parking lot, and there was a car that was parked, and you've got diagonal lines. I guess it's hard to do with the camera the way it is, but there's diagonal lines like this, and they're parked like this. So they're blocking 3 parking spots opposite the lines. And so we're 250 kilometers into the States, and I saw the license plate, and it was the province I expected it to be.
Really? Wow. Not bad.
Yeah.
I was always I've just always been a terrible driver, and I know that I had LA plates on my car because we lived in LA, and then I would drive up, and we'd live up and eventually we ended up moving to Washington State for a bit. But we had so we had LA plates, and then we had Washington plates. And the number of times, like if I parked even slightly off, someone would like come out of their house and be like, "You Americans, you show up," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm literally like I'm like as Canadian as they come. I got the American plates, But yeah, so you come in here for your Starbucks, and I was like, "What? What the hell? I parked a little crooked. I'm sorry." I'm like,
just blame it on the license plate. It's not me. It's the plates, man.
Apparently, they're like scratching cars in the outside of Toronto of like Ontario plates, or or was it in BC, where apparently they're like keying cars and stuff because they don't want people escaping to the country with their COVID, right? So it's like we're literally living in a Stephen King novel.
Wow.
I think my favorite car scratching story though is that guy who had a woman scratch his car because he drove a Tesla, and the Tesla recorded it. They put in that what's the proximity alarm system?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So there's the car recorded a video of her scratching down the side of it, and they like identified her immediately, and it was.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
And like, why'd you do it? Because it was a Tesla, and I thought he was pretentious. Okay.
Nice. Well, that's a good reason. And then eventually the Tesla will be smart enough to go out and just run her over.
Just start up or smack her with the door.
Yeah, to hit her with the door. That's right. Well, it would be like it would be sort of like knocking her off her feet, though, wouldn't it? Because it'd be like that.
It would actually be great.
Gull wing.
A skit where like you see the woman scratch the Tesla, and then like the Tesla's headlights light up, and they look like all evil or whatever, and it's like following her around, and it waits till like she like gets into her car, then it goes past, flips its door open, and scratches her car on the way past.
Nice.
Honks the horn and drives off.
Right.
That's totally a movie pitch right there.
You got to weaponize the Like if anyone ever makes a movie again,
it's the Canadian version of Christine. The car doesn't kill people; it just gets revenge, like eye for an eye stuff.
Well, does anyone remember Killdozer?
I do not remember Killdozer.
Okay, so this is a movie that I was obsessed with. I don't even know. I must have seen it like late at night, where it was a bulldozer, and it hits like this green crystal as it's digging. and then it becomes possessed by like some entity of some sort and goes around killing people. And I remember like that was the height of scary for me. This was my midnight watching.
Like Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah, Maximum Overdrive. That's right. Yeah,
that movie always creeped me out as a youngin'.
I think it was I remember my sister and I, the not acting sister, went to see we went to see The Fog because we'd read an interview, an article on it, and it said it was stupid. That it was like funny, like it was so bad it was funny. So we went to The Fog as like 13-year-olds to go and watch this movie and laugh at it, and we were like, absolutely, we came out like traumatized, like the hooks and oh god, it was awful. Yeah,
the ending of that movie was so messed up too, right? Because
what was that about? Yeah,
because that wasn't like the book doesn't have an ending, or it has like a very ambiguous ending. Like they just go off, and then that's kind of like where the book ends.
Yeah,
and they're like, how can we make this movie as like traumatizing as possible, especially to parents?
Right? Because then doesn't it come back at the end for like no reason at all?
So. Okay, spoiler alert. You have 10 seconds to mute my mic before.
Okay, 10 seconds. There you go.
Yeah.
How old of a movie is this?
It's old.
It's pretty old. I'm just being polite.
Well, didn't they remake it though?
They did a TV show for it. Like HBO or something like that did a.
That's based on the movie?
No, it was based on the book. Like because The Fog is a Stephen King book.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the book they just go off into the fog. I think it's been a long time since I read it, but I think it basically it leaves the opening. You don't know whether or not they survive or whatever.
Right.
In the movie,
God, that was awful.
Yeah, there's the old couple that gets into the car with the father and the kid, and they've got a gun with 3 bullets because why not? They drive until the car runs out of gas, and then they're surrounded by creatures. So the father basically euthanizes the other 3 people in the car, and then you've got this heartbroken moment because the father doesn't have a way to finish off the situation, and then like 30 seconds later the fog clears, and then the army runs through and they're pushing it all back, and if you'd waited 30 seconds longer everything would have been fine. And then like insult to injury, you see this woman with her 2 kids that at the beginning of the movie was like, somebody needs to get me to my house so I can take care of my kids, and nobody would go with her, and she ended up being the first evacuated because her house was like on the outskirts, and they saved her and her kids. And it's like,
oh yeah,
for this.
No, that was awful. I remember that. I remember just like being like, I was like, oh, that's so. I was like, it was so cheap and yet so painful. If that makes sense.
Oh like, no, because you're watching the movie and it's like, okay, it's a horror movie, but then you end up actually feeling just super sad over something that was like, it was a stupid ending to begin with, but like,
but isn't that different from John Carpenter's The Fog though? Is that because John Carpenter didn't do The Fog based on a Stephen King novel?
Oh, hold on, I'm screwing it up. It's The Mist. I screwed up.
Okay, all right.
Okay, no, I got it wrong. I fully accept it.
That's a that
told me on it in chat yet?
No, they're talking about Duel. They're talking about what else we got here. I've tried to figure out how many Stephen King movies there are. I always lose count, about 30.
My buddy Crow is in chat. He says it was separate movies. He just pointed it out, but I don't know if that's after I said it or not.
Separate movies, very separate movies, very separate. Yeah, okay. That's why I was so surprised that they did I was like, really? They did a series based on John Carpenter's The Fog? I was like, how many people could get hooked to death by pirate types,
I can't. I mean, I guess the names are pretty ambiguous, right? The Fog, The Mist. It's yeah.
No, James, you're totally in the right here.
I just made myself a note that we have to get a fact checker for the show from now on.
Yeah, it's so true. We need Snopes on this.
Yeah. Just somebody you're constantly Googling everything I say. Counter the number of times we get something wrong on the right.
The sad part is I'm pretty sure somebody's already out there doing that for us.
I'm sure.
I mean, this is the internet. We should be getting called out like 10 seconds before we make the comments.
Now, Glenn, what are you doing? What are you puttering around doing now? Like, are you just tidying up? Are you actually building something, or what are you?
Yeah, so I have this horribly bad habit of when I'm doing tasks and stuff, like when I'm cutting off the zip ties or whatever, I just let them drop. So then before long, I have this huge pile of mess, and I'm finally at the point. What I'm doing, the printer has already been done. Like it's already been functional. It's been to shows. But I decided that I wanted to go to 4 Z motors so that this levels automatically for me. This is the carriage. This moves up and down instead of the bed moving. So that's what I'm working on now, is getting the 4 motors in and getting the additional electronics in. Wow. And so I have all kinds of like wire strippings and just junk laying everywhere. So I'm trying to clean it up, because I'm now at the point where I'm getting ready to update the software so that I can make this thing move again.
Right.
So,
and you still don't have a print yet for it. You don't have something.
Yeah. I've printed mostly small stuff, as odd as that is, because I would take it to like Maker Faire and stuff, and I wanted stuff that I could print and hand out to the kids right away.
Right.
So I was doing little makey robots on it and stuff, which take about 9 minutes a piece, so I could pop them off and give them away.
Right.
I've done
9 minutes. Man. Okay.
Yeah, 9 minutes. Just a little makey.
Right.
Makey. But Xander, the first year we were at Maker Faire with it, Xander kept like tweaking the settings to make it go a little faster and a little faster and a little faster until we got it to about 9 minutes per makey.
Wow.
But I do have one big makey that I did on here, which is the biggest print so far. But the goal is I'm going to do a benchy boat at 1,001%, which is it's 480 millimeters tall.
Right.
So it'll be.
Do you have multiple heating zones on that thing, or is it all just one heater?
Just one. And the reason that I did that was because if I would have had multiple heaters, I would have had to have a separation in the bed. Otherwise, if you heat half the bed, it'll just heat sink it into the rest of it anyway. So you'll be heating the whole bed. It'll just be working harder. So it's just one big. The bed is buried right now under hardware, but it's just one big silicone heater.
Huh.
Yeah, that is the thing. Like, because people think, oh, I'm only heating the bed, it's only use half as much power. If you had 2 separate heaters, it would use slightly less power, because keeping the center hot, even though the outside won't be as hot or whatever, it's wherever your thermistor is. But yeah, the diminishing return, you only save like say 20% electricity, and like you're saying, it's going to have to work that much harder with the one pad. So
yeah, because it's going to end up heating the whole bed anyway.
Yeah.
Can't you do like the underfloor heating? You do the little just glue on the underfloor heating?
That's technically how it is. I mean, inside that silicone heater, it's just heat strips like this.
Yeah.
But I had a really good conversation with one of the Andrews from 3D Gloop, because he's actually and if he hears this, he's going to punch me for not knowing exactly, but he's a thermo something engineer.
Right.
I
And
look forward to seeing you get punched.
but like he was asking me about it, and we started talking, and I'm like, well, if I had only done half a heater and blah blah blah, and he's like, you realize that I'm this thermal whatever, and I'm like, oh, well, am I right? And he's like, well, yeah.
Damn it! I went to school for that.
He's like, you'd have to put a material break in between there to isolate the two, and I'm like, yeah, but then you could end up having a deviation, and so
the bed is just one piece.
Yeah, it's a piece of it's Alcoa's ACP, but it's also the same as Mix 6 aluminum jig plate. And what they do is it's cast aluminum, and it's pre-stressed vertically so that it does not change with temperature. It does not fluctuate with temperature. And then once it's cast, they mill it. You can actually see the mill marks on it.
Yep.
And they mill these sheets like super wide. You can get them, I think 6 foot by 20 foot.
That's your next one
in size. So yeah, that's the next printer. So no, I went, it's 16 by 48 or 400 millimeter by 1200 millimeter.
Right.
And the reason that I went that size was because it's just slightly bigger than G Create's big. Huh. There's a 16 by 42, and I went to 16 by 48 because you have to have the biggest bed.
Right. That's true.
Are you setting up stall garden stuff on it as well in case there's missed steps or whatever when you're printing giant things?
What's that?
Are you setting up like stall garden stuff on it as well? So if in case you end up with missed steps during printing,
wear belt and suspenders? What?
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
Okay. That's what you said last time when you threw caution to the wind. How did it work out for you?
Well, whatever. You mean this? You mean this right here? No big deal.
Glenn and I were talking. I should actually. So I don't have it with me. I'll run upstairs and actually, you know what? I'm going to turn off camera for a second. I'll run upstairs and get it because I might as well have the prop during this particular story.
This is where I usually put my McKay doll right in front of and then with a little sticker that says "I'll be back."
I mean, I could stick the this guy here, but
there you go. Perfect. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be right back. Oh wait, and then he never came back because we were talking about horror movies, and I'm gonna die.
That's it. Oh yeah, no, right. You'll probably be murdered. That's true. By someone with a large hook.
Yeah. What if he like slips halfway up the stairs and then falls down, and now we don't know because we can't.
Well, we had to.
I have my mic on, so you'll hear me screaming in agony.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Excellent.
You guys don't know where I live, so it's not gonna.
Yeah, somewhere in Canada, they're murdering someone.
Oh, you're from Canada? Do you know Steve?
What?
The old joke. Oh, you're from Canada. Do you know Steve?
So that's Steve, right?
Oh,
right. I'm like thinking, do I know Steve? It's funny. I had like every week my oldest friends and I get together. We do like the little Brady Bunch Zoom meeting, and at one point, one of our friends said, "Look, my wife is selling a bit of furniture on Craigslist or whatever it was, and she doesn't want to go and meet the guy by herself, so I'm going to go." And then like an hour went by, and all of my friends are in the film industry. So by the time he finally came back, we had a whole script worked out for what had happened, and how he was going to return to us, and so that was basically that's how our chats go. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's the weird world that we're living in right now, where we all have to get together in these little Zoom chats and stuff. Now, your setup, I was admiring your setup. Actually, I watched a couple of videos, and you built your own switcher. You built your own switcher, right? Is that And
I did. It's I call it the hot box, and it's run from an Arduino Nano.
Oh yeah, really?
And really, all it does is emulate a keyboard. And so inside of OBS, you can set up hotkeys, Alt 1, Alt 2, whatever, to switch cameras. And so I just made that thing work like a keyboard, like a USB keyboard, and switch cameras for me. And then I added a rotary switch, so I could actually have all buttons could have 4 different functions, because I also set it up for shortcuts for my CAD program and stuff. But I folded and last year during Black Friday ended up buying a Stream Deck. So I moved my home built one over to my other computer.
Right.
This area right here, it's my actual desk is over there, which is, if you go back and watch some of my really early cringy videos, that's where Xander and I used to film, was at my regular desk.
Right.
And then we ended up moving over here. So I put that over onto my regular daily computer.
And you'll use that for shortcuts and stuff.
Yeah, I use it for when I'm doing CAD and stuff. Instead of if there's not already a shortcut built into it and it's a command, I just do it so that I can hit the button for doing copy or whatever. So. And
for this setup, you've got a PC that's dedicated to the streaming side of stuff. Is that?
Yeah, that's all this computer does. That's all I do with it is record video and stream. I don't even do my editing on this. I do my editing on my regular PC.
So how many cameras do you have attached to it?
1, 2, 3, 4 currently.
So and then how are you getting them into are they each getting their own capture card?
No. So the main camera that I use is a Sony Handycam, and it runs through a Elgato.
Capture card, the external capture card?
The USB one. I forget what it's called now. But so that one runs HDMI into that. Otherwise, they're all just webcams. So
you just have multiple USB webcams.
Yeah, so I can go, here's my overhead. Well, my overhead with my main, so you can see the top of my shiny head.
Nice. Right.
And he's wearing pants today, boys and girls. And
socks. I got socks on, so you can't see.
Oh, really? I didn't go as far as socks today.
Well, it's funny. When I first started streaming, not even just completely subconsciously, I would not stream without socks on. I wouldn't do it barefooted. It didn't feel right to me. So when I was getting ready, I would always end up putting socks on, and I thought, well, that's weird. And then I did it a couple of times without socks, like not all that long ago. And then all of a sudden I'd go to an overhead shot and my feet would be in there. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not letting people see my feet. Those are my feet.
I think I'm so used to having all of that stuff. When normally with filming, you have people who come in and put too much makeup on you and all that kind of stuff. And I've so revolted against it. I've become revolting in that I just don't bother with it at all anymore now. I do chats with people and I see them as I lose. There you go. Speaking about horror movies, we just lost the lights. That's great. Slowly it shuts down as it comes towards me. Yeah, so I'm like, just t-shirts, shorts. My wife is horrified because she's just like, you're talking to people. I was like, yeah, but they're people. We're all just people, you know.
Yeah, well, I went for a long time. I never did a video or a live stream that I wasn't wearing my own shirt. We never attended a live event that I wasn't dressed like this. I went for probably 2 years with most of the people who are here with us today, and like even James, never seeing me not dressed like this.
Right.
I don't know if that actually changed for me.
What's that?
I don't think I've ever, like, even saying that, I don't think now I've ever not seen you in a Fun King 3D shirt.
Not very often. I've worn your shirt occasionally. Like,
oh, that's true. No, you're right.
Like, I won't go on stream not wearing a 3D printed related shirt.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a Maker Box, 3D Gloop. Mike's Never Let the Machine Win. His bright orange shirt, I wore that, which it's almost always a black T-shirt. You know, so it's a rarity. You know, to the point where I think that I could walk into a Murph or Earth dressed differently and no one would know
who you were. That's right. Because out of context, they're not going to.
Yeah, I can go incognito without having to wear a stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah. You have to try it out like one day. It's it's funny. Well, the t-shirt thing's interesting because that's like when it comes to like my wife did news TV, like so she used to produce all the entertainment news stuff for E and or a bunch of the live stuff for E. And she was always big on, she's like, just wear the same clothes. Multiple days, wash them, but wear them because then you have the choice. You can always cut, you can always move things around. Whereas if you've got people on different days, and of course I've seen that now because whenever I go to cut something now, I'm like, oh, right. I did that at 4:00 in the morning in my pajamas. And then that I did a week later and I'm still talking about the same stuff.
And I've noticed that with like reality TV, most recently with the Lego Masters. You know,
I haven't seen Lego Masters yet. I got to see that.
Well, the majority of the community really got into it because one of the contestants and her friend on the show, she's into 3D printing.
Right.
And so like she's part of our community. So all of a sudden it was somebody we know. It's on Lego Masters.
Right.
We gotta watch. But it's funny because like it'll be in the middle of the show, but then they'll do that cut where they're interviewing the people and they're like, yeah, that was really hard and blah, blah, blah. And I hope that we win this one or whatever. But yet they're dressed completely different than what they were. And it was like that was early on. And then as the season went, like they didn't do that anymore. So apparently somebody we got to fix this. It's a little bit
because we're kind of giving stuff away. Baz is always trying. We watch. We were obsessed with RuPaul's Drag Race, and so he would always, whenever there are interviews, he'd go, "Aha! They already know they're being kicked out because he's already getting emotional about So he's trying to like preempt it."
My wife and I have watched all of that, and there's a couple other versions and stuff like that. They're very entertaining, absolutely.
Oh my God, they're well made. Like that is a really well produced show. Although, what the hell? Okay, I got a question for you. What the hell was Rue wearing that mask thing for at the end of this season?
Maybe I haven't watched the current season. We watched them as is it a Netflix series or is it?
I think we were watching it on. It is on Netflix, but it's a live television as well. So the recent live one. Oh, and then don't ixnay that.
It's all spoiled.
No, it's not spoiled. No, there's just
how it ends with the mask.
He's in COVID. He's like they're in lockdown. So they did this entire thing in lockdown. They did a really, really good job of intercutting it. But he had this weird mask thing on, and everyone's like speculating. We couldn't figure out was because had he had surgery, had he had an accident? Like I don't know.
A statement, like.
Exactly. It may have been a statement. Maybe it was a mask statement, but it wasn't even a face. Like it was just I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. The
story we were talking about the like 20 minutes ago when I ran upstairs to get it. We were talking about throwing caution to the wind. Right. So I'd sent Glenn a picture of this. I've been working on a smaller than the NES Classic.
Nice.
NES Classic, right? So there's the NES Classic.
Okay.
And the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that the top part prints as one piece and it's got a hinged door that prints in place.
Oh.
It prints pre-assembled.
Right.
So he said, did you test print your hinge or did you just throw caution to the wind? I said, well, I just threw caution to the wind, not realizing what it was translating to. the top of this takes 18 grams of material to print. The thing he was printing takes 200 grams of material to print.
In 24 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
So I can print this off in 2 hours, the top part where the hinge is. So
Right.
making the adjustments to it, I'm not saving a lot of time having to cut this out of the model, reprint that separately.
Right.
Yes. All that to say, that was the caution to the wind thing.
Yeah, and I the whole thing was a wash because I missed these holes where the back of the Duet card comes in, where the Wi-Fi sticks out and stuff. The holes weren't exactly right, and I had used the digital modeling that I had done for the first version, which I'd been using now for over a year, and I thought, well, it'll be fine. I didn't realize I had gone back in with a Dremel and hacked that old one all up to use it. I'd forgotten. So all of a sudden, then this one, and I'm like, nah, I got to fix it. So
Easy Sparky asked if this is for a Raspberry Pi. This actually uses an Orange Pi Zero, which is smaller than the Raspberry Pi. So it's just the board itself is like 48 millimeters by 48 millimeters.
Wow.
So super tiny. It only has one USB port, but but there are 2 additional USB ports available in the GPI, the secondary GPIO on it. So a bunch of soldering involved, but this all started with I power a couple of my 3D printers using these boards. I'm like, well, I want a fancy looking case for it. So then I'm like, oh, I'll design it to look like a Nintendo. And then by the end of it, I'm like, well, I'm going to build it into a functional Nintendo.
Right.
You can actually play games on. Also, now it won't be hosting my 3D printer because it's going to have, RetroPie and all that stuff.
Right. How do you find RetroPie? I installed RetroPie and played it for a little bit on the Pi I had, but I just found trying to get legitimate downloads really difficult.
Legitimate downloads are always going to be an issue because it is copyrighted material and stuff like that. It's interesting the number of places there are Canadian, let's not say companies because they don't make money off it except for like advertisement on their websites. But there is a Canadian website that is hosted out of Quebec that has images you can download. It's like 128 gigs and it has 40,000 games in it, pre-configured, all tested, ready to go.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
I never toss up links or whatever, that's a controversial subject, but it's interesting how many people get it, and they've been doing it for years. Like I found out from a friend 3 years ago, I found this site and they have these images. You just pick the Pi that you have, the size of SD card you have, and which games are most important to you. Cause like it won't have all of them, but if you're like, oh, I want to play Nintendo and Atari, that stuff, pick the image that has that stuff, write it to the card and it's good to go.
No, I'll have to get those off you then, because that's because
you won't get them off me. Wink, wink, wink.
No, I won't. I'll ask somebody
who
who
would never share that kind of information with you. That would be
I'll ask an American about it.
My thing is, I keep the emulation stuff around. I have a giant collection. Like it's covered because my shelves are sagging a little bit, and every time I have the shelves uncovered, people start commenting, "Oh, your shelves are going to collapse." The wood was actually bent when I put it up. I just didn't want to. Because I never thought it was going to be on camera. Like this was before I got into YouTube.
Right.
So the wood was already deformed when I got it, and as a result, like I used it. It's not deforming anymore. I didn't want to be wasteful with it. But every time it shows up in camera, it's like, oh, those shelves are going to collapse, and I'm like, they're all reinforced with a piece of 2x4 across the back so that they won't sag any further. It was a way for me to get everything organized on the cheap because sometimes
I always find it funny what people get concerned about, like what people get because God knows what's back there. Like I didn't design any of this. Like this is literally just all. I'm just like I had to find a place to put things, and then one day I just started drawing on the walls. My son loved that.
Well,
and then
it's crazy what people see. Like when I watch a video, I watch the content. I'm not like staring past you, going, "Oh, what's that back there?" And oh, was he got? Oh,
you kidding? I'm doing that now for sure, though. Now we're in COVID lockdown. Whenever I do news, whatever this news broadcast, I'm like, well, okay, get this. I thought this was interesting. So I was looking into AI because that's another thing I love, all the AI side of stuff. And one of the things that they've got is they're saying that they're processing images now, right? So when they do facial recognition, they will do facial recognition on you, and they will help add all sorts of extra tags and sort of metadata about that image that they've captured with what else is on screen with you.
Wow.
And the idea being is, they know it's you. They know in the background, they see a 3D printer. They see, various different colored 3D printer materials and PC stuff. They will use that to market to you now.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
And then, of course, when it comes to like government officials, you got to be really careful what you got on the bookshelf because, someone's going to pull that up as well, right? So I always find that interesting. I mean, it's I feel like we've come along so far since that day of those days of the guy doing the BBC interview, and then the wife running in to get rid of the kid as she.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, trying to put the two kids out and like trying to stay under the camera level and
like, and everyone now is just like, yeah, every freaking day. What's the difference now? That was a moment in history that is now just basically every day for everybody at this point. My joke with Baz is I keep threatening to come into his stream like wearing no shirt or something, like eating a hot dog, with like ketchup and stuff down.
Yeah, I like to come up behind Xander when he's playing games with his friends and say stuff like, "Hey, it's time for your bubble bath."
Yeah, Baz, I've been told off a few times about that stuff. Yeah,
jokes on them. I think a bubble bath sounds perfectly relaxing.
But frankly, I wish I had time for a bubble bath.
Yeah.
The other one I love was the last night where he was playing with friends, and I could hear the mom of his friend in the background saying, "Who is that? Who are you playing with?" Because you could hear me talking, you could hear Baz talking, and the kid kept ignoring it. And finally I was like, "It's me," like it's David, and she's like, "Oh, I was, basically I'm just trying to have him avoid freaks. So maybe we could, we gotta get you off the stream as well." But those weird, creepy old men, I'm one of them now. So yeah, in the background, just throwing snide comments at my son and his friends as they play.
Well, see, and Xander gets mad at me because I always say to him, "Listen, I hear you playing with these kids, and it's different kids than you used to play with. Where'd you meet these people? Oh, in the game. Well,
yeah, it's all in game. That's their social.
Yeah,
network.
like where are they? I don't know. Well, how old are they? I don't know. They're about my age because they don't have deep voices or anything."
Neither do I.
This is his mentality. And then he's sitting right here. He can hear me saying this. He can hear me telling these stories. But he doesn't understand the importance of what I'm doing, and the risks involved with being in a connected world.
You're being a lame dad.
We didn't. Yeah, I am the lame
We're
dad.
Just cringy. We're cringy dad. Cringy dad.
Yeah.
That's
but
it. Yeah.
But the thing is like I got into the internet like way back when, not like in the 70s, but when it started to become mainstream in the early 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
And even back then, the predators were taking advantage of the internet and using the internet. And like I got to watch how everything evolved through. I mean, I know the risks that kid has on a daily basis, and he's 13, so he doesn't necessarily see those same risks.
Well, no, but it's like it's kind of like the COVID thing, right? Like the numbers of the 20-year-olds are going up because they're indestructible, right? I mean, right. At 20, you feel indestructible. At 13, you think you know everything. I mean, Baz is the same way. It's very difficult. I find it very difficult not to. I mean, you don't want to scare them off, but at the same time, you don't want to. You need them to know that there's like this potential for true harm to happen. Like, I mean, like this idea that they'll trick them into sending photos, and then once they've sent a photo, they threaten to use the photo. Like, it's all sorts of grooming stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's just, I mean, but again,
the world's all messed up, is what you're saying.
The same way we're messed up before, I guess. But
the world's always been messed up. We just have the internet now, so it's easier.
Yeah, and I think it's. I mean, it's also the kids just they don't have the sense of like they don't know, the whole thing is not understanding the repercussions, right? There's a great one. Savage for the Mythbusters said, I went and saw him speak at this generator thing, and he talked about raising kids like his boys on the internet, and the thing that he discovered was that, as he said, the internet hates women. So just know, as he basically taught his kids, that whatever you ask the internet, it's kind of like asking a sexist pig of a horrible, creepy old uncle what they think about something. The first response is always going to be an inappropriate, comment on women or a picture or whatever. As long as you know that that's what you're dealing with, then you can filter it again from there. And I would go so far now as saying it's not just sexist. It's, also everything else. You got racism. You've got all sorts of stuff out there.
Because you can hide behind the keyboard.
Yeah.
And as much as the internet is like love can find love and all this other stuff, hate can find hate, and there's no filter for it. It's like you're saying, it's easy to hide behind the keyword and just, you can ramble off, say whatever you want, and there's no consequences for your actions. So
Well, and the new one that I've started bugging him about recently, which we've had a number of number of arguments about, is just my concern of these, like, is just letting slide a few little things here, a little this. Well, yes, he said, yes, he said the N-word, but he didn't really mean it. It was sort of a joke. Or yes, he said this in these streams. Some of their streamers will say some inappropriate stuff, or stuff will come up, or there'll be a montage of stuff, and one of those montages involves somebody saying something inappropriate. And what I've said to him, because I started listening to this show called, have you listened to this podcast called Rabbit Hole? Okay, it's New York Times.
I've watched 1 or 2 episodes a while. Like, it's been around for a few years now, right?
Has it? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm wrong, but okay, continue on.
I think it was the New York Times. It's a podcast, and they basically go down the rabbit hole of the internet. And one of the ones they go down is this sort of like alt-right, this crazy, full-on, Nazi youth stuff. And they were saying that both the very, very far right and the very far left are also very aware that they need to recruit kids. So both sides are trying to diminish and just little tiny things here and there. They're little, like the death by 1,000 little tiny cuts to try to persuade kids that, well, maybe whatever their perspective isn't so bad. Or maybe it's, what does it really matter? Like, so there's this whole sort of like trying to sort of desensitize them to stuff.
Right.
And before that, I'd always said like, dude, they're saying, he's like, I just said it. It's like, it's not the guy I normally watch. It's just it's in a combination. Well, now, because of this New York Times thing, I'm like, that's it. We're no longer listening to this guy anymore. He's gone, because we don't know now whether that is truly just him being stupid, or whether it's part of a bigger conspiracy to try to undermine. I mean, like that. Look, even if it's not true, I find it terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, if he brushes it off, it's just, and he starts to become desensitized, more and more of that's going to come into his life.
Yep.
And that's my concern.
He's not ever going to push it away.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's so weird though, because I mean, like I mean, parenting for me, the horrible realization I made with parenting is it's really just balancing guilt and fear. Like, it's just somewhere in the middle is the parent. You know what I mean? So, wow, the chat's there's lots going on in the chat, isn't there?
Yeah, they're ignoring us. They're having their own conversation and stuff.
That's good. I always like that when they get,
Also, Dave, I sent you a message on the Twitters.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Is that the only communication we have is the Twitters?
You gave me your email as well, but I just figured I'd send it the direct message you now, because I can tell you that I sent you the message on the
Very
Twitter.
good. I like
Yeah,
it.
James asked me today. He said, "Are you and David friends on Twitter?" And I said, "Well, I follow him, but he doesn't like me back the same way, And then so then when you followed me back today, like, I'm like, "Ooh, David, you followed me on Twitter."
I did not that stuff.
What's that?
I'm so bad at that stuff. Like, I'll be having like chats with people, and then like a week later, I'll go on Twitter. I'll go, well, I'm not following them.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm terrible at following people back. And I tell people, listen, if you follow me and you want me to follow you back, let me know. But
yeah, me too.
I'm bad at it, because it'll pop up, like Twitter will pop up and say, I recommend you follow these people. I'm like, I'm not following that person.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe they bounced some people out, because I know, like with YouTube, I'm sure that I was following people that I'm not following anymore.
Yeah.
YouTube is really bad for that.
Notorious for unsubbing you from.
Oh, is it?
Channels. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And like my YouTube, I only follow 3D printing related stuff with my Fun King 3D channel. And I got, I don't know, a couple hundred channels that I follow in there. So it's really hard to keep track of that.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden, like, I'm not getting notifications on people, and I go, wow, that person hasn't made a video in a while, and I look and they still are, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Every so often you sort of find yourself going like, hey, whatever happened to? And then you're like, oh, they've been making videos the entire time. So yeah.
I have a whole back catalog to go through now.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
They said that I'm just a bad Twitter.
Bad. Yeah. Yeah. Same old Shane. It's, I'm amazed he hasn't said that to me, because I'm also absolutely terrible about that.
I will clarify though that I did not tell David that he wasn't following you. He followed back on his own there. I didn't say anything.
Oh, you didn't even make him follow me back. Wow.
No, it was today. I think it was today. I was going through. I just like to go through and just sort of like get a little, get a sense of what you madmen are up to, and then realized I wasn't following. So yeah.
You wanted to make sure that you weren't going to ruin your reputation by coming on stream with us.
Well, you know what's funny is I have done interviews with people that I hadn't done any background on before, and in a couple of cases, it was really awkward. Like, I mean, this was years and years ago. It was like during the Stargate years when I was a little more naive about it, and people would go like, I want you, come and do my podcast. Like, yeah, sure, And the next thing you know, you're like having a conversation with it, and you can't get off I had one with a Skype chat, and so we had the whole interview, which was very weird because it was just not really an interview. It was like a conversation, but it was being recorded. So you're sort of a little bit on guard anyways. And then just kept calling back. Like I was like, eventually I was like, I'm just gonna shut the computer down because it's just I couldn't get away from this conversation. So yeah. But no, I had a pretty good I mean, James and I have sort of been orbiting at a distance for a while now. So
yeah, we have occasional chats or messages back and forth. Yeah. There was a quick discussion about me trying to design a Stargate version of this cabinet, but lawyers scare me, so
That would be good, though. I mean, it's
say that with that cabinet sitting right there in front of you, and I can see multiple copyright infringements on that one.
No, I don't sell this one, right? I don't sell this version of the cabinet. I made a very generic version of it.
I saw that. Your generic retro cabinet. I saw that today. Yeah.
Yeah. And that worked out fine. Then this was so I built this one. I built the Ninja Turtles one. The Ninja Turtle one's in pieces. On its last trip back from, I guess, Earth at this point, we hit a bump at some point. It shifted and it basically split the control panel, like the box for the control panel in half. So parts need to be reprinted. And I really, for some reason, hate revisiting a project I've already done. I want to move on to the next one.
Right. Because that's maintenance. That's not building. That's maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. That fix it and prod. So when it came time to start selling the model, I was like, well, I have to build another one because I didn't film the assembly of the first one because it was a bit of a rush job at the end. And then I was like, well, I don't want to reprint the one I already did. So then I was like, I'll do a Captain America themed one because the back of it is obviously a circle as well. And the whole inspiration came with, I could design the back so it looks like Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like, well, what else can I add to it? So put the Avengers logo, and I went with the red, white, and blue color scheme. And this has the generic Ready Printer 1 marquee on it, but I also did design one that's like a curved Avengers logo and stuff like that. So
oh, I got to do that because Baz and I have talked about the whole retro gaming thing, right? I mean, like 1943. I love 1943. What was the other one? Something. What was that game called? R something.
R-Type.
R-Type. That was it. R-Type, right? That was the guy
where you collect the bubbles and you upgrade your ship. Yeah, R-Type is a lot of fun. My first time playing R-Type was on like the NES because they had a decent port on there. But every fall, every November, my best friend and I travel to Laconia, New Hampshire, and there's the Guinness Book of World Records recognized world's largest arcade. They have the most unique video games, and the place is called Fun Spot. So we can go there, and it's like it costs us like $250 for like a four-day weekend to stay in a hotel there. Everything, the food's cheap. It's one of the places that doesn't have the sales tax and stuff like that.
Right.
And they sell their tokens. If you buy $20 for the tokens, it's 20 cents a token instead of 25.
Right.
And so I'll just go up there and we'll play games nonstop for 4 days. And there's a group.
That's a holiday.
Well, and there's a group of guys because like we used to go to a tournament in June that was there. We ended up making a bunch of friends from all over the place. It's like Canada, the US, overseas, and a bunch of them sort of gather during this time where there isn't a tournament just to try and set world records. So yeah, like there's guys that are there that they sit down at a game that they've never played before, and by the end of the weekend they're like top 10 in the world on it. And it's just
oh my god.
Yeah,
that kind of sucks though for trying to get your turn at the game though.
There's enough games up there that I mean, unless you really love a game, it can suck. 1943 is like my favorite game, and
I love 1943. Love it.
I was top 10 in the world for a bit. Now I think I'm down to 13. I've stopped sort of submitting scores.
Oh wow!
Because can
you submit off this?
No. So there is another track for Guinness that's done in MAME.
Right.
Well, it's high scores are traced by a company called Twin Galaxies. And they have a separate fork of it that you can submit scores from MAME. And there's like an IPS file. So if you have the right version of MAME, it'll record all your key presses and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. So they can track it and make sure that you're not
Yeah,
gaming at all.
they can replay your game exactly as it was, and or you can videotape it and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I play a lot of 1943. I was saying I built a miniature 1943 like wood cabinet at one point.
Right.
Like, it's funny. I build all these cabinets with all these different themes, and all I ever do is play this game anyways. So.
Yeah, that was. I love 1943. There was R-Type. I don't know why R-Type stuck in my head. What else did I play? I loved Miss Pac-Man. Oh my god, I played Miss Pac-Man all the time. I don't know why I preferred that to Pac-Man in general, but for some reason.
You remind me after the stream. A friend of mine a couple years ago saw that I was building arcade cabinets, and she contacted me and was like, "Hey, my mom loves Miss Pac-Man. Could you design something around that?" And I built a almost perfectly scaled bar top version. So it's like you took.
That's how I used to play. I used to play it on the bar top one where you had. That's my girlfriend and I used to go to this coffee shop, get our little pretentious lattes, and then just play video games the whole time instead of doing homework. She was still at school at that point. I bailed on it long ago.
So the names aren't super. So were you playing on a bar top or a cocktail cabinet? Cocktail cabinets are the ones that are like a table where you can put your drink down on it. So you put your cocktail on the side of it, and then you're like sitting over looking down at the screen. This is a bar top where it's like half of a cabinet, and you put it on top of the bar or on top of it.
Okay, no, sorry. This would have been like a table, an actual table.
Because that's the thing. It's like they could have picked a better name for bar top because bar top and cocktail sound like they're almost interchangeable. But
yeah.
So
Tune in while James Cameron schools David Hewlett.
That's it.
You know what? I got nothing.
There's always something to learn. Always something to learn.
Yeah.
But that's the whole idea of the retro gaming thing, and then tying that into the 3D printing stuff's great too. It's such a great. It's just two neat ways of like. I always see everything as like what's a way of trying to trick kids into learning something.
Yep.
And although it usually ends up with sort of like, is it done yet? Okay, I'll come back. Basically how it works for me.
Always, no, it's not done yet.
Yeah, definitely not done yet.
The response to the printed cabinets for me, though, like I've had so many people go like, well, that'll never last. It'll never hold up against use and stuff like that. And like, I've got a cabinet that's I 3D printed 2.5 years ago, and it's no worse for wear. There's people, 3D printing is not the way to go with this stuff. I'm like, well, for somebody that's not good at woodworking, to take the template for something I've designed, they send it to their printer, and then the screw holes and everything are there. So as long as you put everything where it's supposed to be, it's going to work. That's a great learning experience.
Yeah. No, one of the reasons why I ended up talking to SaneSmart about the CNC was that I was finding the kids were getting impatient, right? Yeah. So I'd bring the 3D printer in. I would bring that Prusa has been back and forth to the local school like a million times.
Yep.
Like through snow, through sleet, through like this thing's bulletproof. I love that thing. And I would bring it in and I'd set it up. And then, of course, you'd go, as you know, you're talking about the little tiny makers. You need to print something that's not going to take forever to print. So we usually just end up doing like little name tag type things. And then I said, like, look, I'll leave it. Why don't I leave it at the school? And then they can use it as they need to. No, wouldn't do it. The school would not accept it. I guess because they're like, well, who's going to upkeep it? Who's going to make sure it doesn't burn the place down? I was like,
well, insurance and yeah.
So all of this, and I was like, oh, come on, because it sits there not doing anything half the time. So what I'm actually working on now is figuring out how to turn the garage into like a mini makerspace. So I can put all this stuff out in the garage. You just open the door whenever someone wants to come in and do stuff. They can just come in and do it because I hate that it just sits there. I can only print so many things.
So you heard it for your first open invitation. Everybody go over to David Hewlett.
Yeah, my garage. That's it.
Go chill out at David Hewlett's garage.
Yeah. As Jane says, I don't see any problems with that.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
The bigger question is does Dave supply the filament? Because
Dave supplies everything. Look, that's why I started the Patreon, because I realized that I just couldn't. Well, especially now, but there's literally no filming happening at all. My wife's like, you want to spend what on what? Because it's amazing how much you can spend a lot of money on this stuff. Holy moly.
Oh yeah.
I bought that 3D printer because I thought I would use it myself. And then I guess the Tech Bandits must have started. Well, no, the Tech Bandits would have started a little bit before that, I guess. But I hadn't thought about 3D printing as an option. It's been amazing. They love it. Like they love the whole concept of it. But once you've seen the first couple of layers, it's like, all right, already. When's it going to be done?
Yeah.
And I can't wait to show them the multi filament one, because then you've got
That increases your time exponentially, though. Just
I know.
A lot longer. But
and a lot more filament too, right? Because you end up using all that
the purge block, and sometimes that purge block is more filament than the original print.
That's insane to me. But I guess that's just you just have to clear the nozzle out. I guess. Is that it?
Yeah.
So the thing to keep in mind is if you're printing a multi-material print, if you're going to need more of them, print as many of them as you can in one shot, because the purge block stays the same even if you're printing 1 or 20 of them.
Oh,
right?
that's interesting.
Yeah, because it'll print the 20 parts in blue, then go and purge, and then the 20 parts in orange, and then go purge. Or it'll print 1 in blue, and then.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right.
It's the same type of logic as kind of same type of logic as when you're printing resin prints. If you're printing 1 or 20, well, actually, no, it's not the same thing. I was going to say time with resin prints is if you're printing 1 resin print or 20 copies of it on the same bed, it takes the same amount of time because layers are cured at the same time. I don't know why I thought the two were at all similar.
I love the idea of the resin printing, but my concern is the chemicals. I feel like it's enough. I get worried. I worry even just about the ABS stuff.
ABS is
it's stinky. I mean,
I don't do any ABS. I only do PLA and PETG.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the PETG stuff, I've never printed with that. Is there anything, do I need anything new for that?
It seems like everybody's experience is different, but essentially you can start with your PLA. You start with your PLA profile. You're going to need to increase the temperatures. And I think most people end up decreasing the print speeds by like say 10 or 15 millimeters a second, just to make sure it's good.
If you're using the Prusa slicer, if you use their PETG profiles, you'll be fine.
Really? Okay, great. I love their slicer, by the way. I love that.
That's pretty much all that I print with anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm printing trinkets for the kids or whatever, I'll go to PLA. But like all the yellow parts on this, well, in fact, all the printed black parts too. This is all PETG on this. So
it's yellow.
What's that?
And that's Fun King yellow.
It is Fun King. It's Fun King 3D yellow.
Oh, so you create filament as well?
No, but that filament it took me a year of pestering.
Oh my gosh, best son ever. Iced coffee. Thank you very much. My son has brought me caffeine.
Oh, that's very nice.
How's it going? Welcome to the stream,
buddy. My son brings me nothing but a hard time.
Well, normally, I guess he wants something. Oh, gaming.
Our kids have the same haircut style, though.
That is true.
None at all.
Yeah, it's are you the haircut? Is that your haircut, or is that just a COVID? I mean, are you growing it long on purpose, or are you getting it cut?
Is it long?
No, it's not particularly long. I'm just.
Well, yeah.
I'll put him on the spot now. Never mind.
Yeah. He can't hear us.
Good job, Dad.
Your headphones on.
I got the headphones on. Yeah, no, I just wondering whether because I got a haircut. My wife cut my not recently. I see. So it's both fashion and COVID. He says.
Form and function. That's important.
See,
that's it.
For my kid, it's because he just hates having haircuts.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
I never liked haircuts.
And so then now through the COVID, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. So I always wanted that. As far as I'm concerned, Baz can have his hair any way he wants because he has hair. Mine is like diminishing so rapidly. I'm like, make the most of it, buddy. Like, do whatever you want. See, I have wonderful long flowing hair. I choose to shave it.
Of course you do. That's it. I choose to shave all around this little island of despair right here. This little island of hope.
That's how mine started, except for I was like 18 when that happened.
Oh, really? No, I definitely.
It fell out way early, but
one of my reasons for getting haircuts is because I find the longer it gets, the more it shows that it's not there. Strangely.
Oh yeah, it looks terrible the longer it gets. But this is a COVID thing. I've never been able to grow facial hair, which is why I don't have any like right here because it just doesn't grow. And I just decided I wasn't going to shave, and this is the yuck that I've been.
This is the fuzz you got. Well, Jane every so often just goes like, okay. You look homeless. Let's well done. You've achieved homeless look. Now you need to,
But I don't go anywhere. I'm never in public, and even so, like I've never cared what people think about me.
Yeah.
Like whatever. If I want to like go to the store with a purple mark on my face, I will because I don't care.
That I tell you, that was the most freeing thing that ever happened to me. If I could teach my kid anything, it'd be just to not care what people think. I mean, care for other people, but don't care what they think. Because I spent so long being so incredibly self-conscious. And then when you eventually just go like, no, I'm a nerd. Like that's it. I'm, that's made just like it's made all the difference for me. But my thing is I keep getting parts now where I have to have a mustache, to the point where every time I get a part now, Jane's like, "Oh no," because I grow the full beard and then cut the mustache, right? And then even when, so the last one, the one I was actually in the middle of shooting when we got shut down for COVID. I'm technically still on lunch. Like 3 months ago. It's like my dream world. I got shut down for lunch for 3 months.
Wow.
Or whatever
So
it's been so
that's
far.
a heck of a meal.
But yeah, exactly. But that was like, so I had this full beard. I came in, I had like handlebar. It was like huge. I was like shaggy. And I went in there and they're like, "Do you mind? You're gonna have a mustache. You're gonna keep the mustache." I'm like, "Oh, great. Okay, fine." And then they cut it and cut it and cut it until it was like this tiny little thing here. So for like 4 months, I've been growing this giant, and I was like, "You could have freaking drawn that on." So
It could be CGI.
that was it.
Yeah. So how far through production, like how far through filming are you with the new project?
So it was. I'm only in it for like 3 days, but the production is at least a couple of months. Like it's a huge film. It's Guillermo del Toro, so the guy who did Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy.
My wife's favorite movie is Pan's Labyrinth. So.
Oh my God, it's fantastic. Yeah, I mean he is. I am like a total fanboy with him. I just think he's an absolute genius. I think he's like the Gandalf of Hollywood. Like he's like this magical being that makes these ridiculously beautiful movies. And this movie is incredible. Like it's a remaking of what's it called? Something Alley, Nightmare Alley. It's a remake of this old, I think it's Kirk Douglas movie or something. And it was just brilliant. So I come in for like 3 days. I get in for my first day. I do the morning shoot. And when I say morning shoot, it started at like 9 p.m. I get in there. I've done days of like wardrobe and makeup and hair and all this stuff just to look normal. And then we get in there, we start shooting the scene, and then they go, "Okay, we're gonna go to lunch a little early." And I'm like, "Okay, we're a little lunch early, fine, that's great." Off I go, and then I come back, and they've got an announcement. They say, "No, we're with COVID, we're all gonna go home. We'll see you in 2 weeks." And that was like
months ago,
like months and months ago,
Yeah, because it's really interesting to me, and now why did that name just escape me? The Seth MacFarlane show.
The Orville?
Yeah, the Orville.
What is that? Like the noisiest keyboard you could find, James?
That's the arcade buttons.
Oh, the arcade buttons.
Arcade buttons. But yeah, they were talking about how like they were halfway through one episode.
Yeah.
When they got pulled, and so they said that they're writing it in, like you're gonna see it right in the middle of the episode, like everybody's gonna look different because it's months later, like. And
that was always my joke with Stargate, where we would end a season on a cliffhanger. Like there was one season we ended, and I was like buried under rubble, and it was like dun dun dun, and they shut down, and they come back again, and the joke was, I think it was me who brought up this joke. I don't know. It was probably not. We get rescued, and the guy I was trapped with, he's like kind of a fit guy, so he's sort of kept himself like really. It's like I got trapped in a room full of sandwiches because I came out and I'm like,
so all the rubble.
I got like 10 pounds added on from like, I was like, you look like you did okay down there for 5 minutes. Yeah. So Baz still refers to it as the Fat Daddy Show. Although as he says now, he goes, "Well, it's not anymore."
Lexi K asked what I was playing. I was playing 1943. The only
yes
that exists.
So I didn't mean to shut you down. I was like, oh my God. It was like all of a sudden it was just getting very intense. I could tell you were
because he types like that too.
It's true.
Oh,
okay. This is the buttons on my arcade cabinet, and this is the keys on my keyboard.
That's not bad. I'm used to. We have all the mechanical keyboards. Like we're just like total. We love our big mechanical keyboards here. So I tend not to click.
My wife spent a ridiculous amount of money because I said that I really liked the look of the keyboard. She bought me this guy here, and it looks like a typewriter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got like Bluetooth and stuff like that. And I was like, the only problem was it didn't have a print screen button. And I'm like, I use print screen all the time. I'm always screenshotting and stuff and all that other stuff. It turns out when I went through the box, there's another layer in the box that I didn't realize, and there was almost completely separate set of keys. So you could swap it between Mac keys and PC keys. And then I go through and like, there's
wow.
a screen button, but you have to hold function down and press the print scheme button versus.
But I like the whole steampunk look to it.
Yeah,
cool. I absolutely love it. And like this thing is probably like 15-20 pounds. Like the wood is actual wood. It's not veneered. This is actual steel all the way around it with the things, and then the keys themselves are like metal ingrained. And I don't.
Wow.
It's an artwork piece. It's the most expensive keyboard I've ever had. I've always bought like the $14 like, standard black or standard white keyboard from the time.
Yeah. Keyboards were never of any importance to me. And then all of a sudden we started gaming, and Baz got us all into these chroma ones. So they have to make, patterns when you hit them and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah. But finding one that's cross-platform is great, because invariably they're always great for gaming on the PC and absolutely useless on a Mac.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So
I just find by banning all Apple products from my house, I don't have that problem.
Oh, dude, I struggle with this all the time. Because I was a PC, I was a PC fascist. I was like, PC is the only thing that's a real computer. Everything else was for like non-nerds. I was fully PC. And then I ran a web design company way back years ago that concentrated on film and television. Of course, the only problem was that nobody in film and television knew what the hell I was talking about or why they would need a website. And then we had to we needed to get a bunch of software and stuff for my sister to start doing some of her design stuff. And she said, look, I really think that Mac makes sense for, all the Adobe stuff and everything that was available at the time. And I was like, okay. And I put a week aside for her to set up the computers, get used to them, and then we would go back into whatever the next project was. So I put a week aside for it. And 2 hours later, she came back and said, I'm ready. And I was like, what? She's like it literally, I plugged it in and it worked. I was like, oh my God, okay, fine. And then eventually we had switched entirely to Apple again. And then PC gaming, I started looking at the PCs and I just kept buying Apple products that didn't work. Like laptops that had to go back. And then I bought that stupid trash can is a freaking joke. I spent like $5,000 on this thing. I had to send it back twice. It still crashes periodically.
Sounds like a trash can.
Oh my God. It would be a better trash can. It would be a highly more efficient trash can. So I don't know what to do next. I'm not sure what to go with next, because I feel like I need,
I started as a PC tech in the early 90s and never learned Apple. And the little bit of time that I've spent on an Apple, I didn't like it. So
I got to say, I absolutely love Apple when it works. But the problem is, if it doesn't work, you have to send it back. There's nothing you can do with it. It's always a component it's almost never a software issue.
Did your lights come back on behind you?
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed that I haven't changed it yet, but I gotta order some new lights for in here.
No, I just figured it was the ghosts.
Yeah, it's the ghost. That's right.
I gotta check and see if Crow is still in chat.
You mean Evan?
I mean Evan.
Hello, Evan. I hear you have very, very good taste in science fiction characters, and human beings, basically.
He's going to be gone now, and this is going to be a completely wasted moment.
Yeah, absolutely wasted. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's in the bathroom.
Yeah. Crow is no longer in the... exclamation mark. Is that exclamation marks? Yeah,
it is.
Hello, Crow. One of my best friends, his handle is Crow Scratch, and he writes all these amazing books, these amazing sort of like almost like Ray Bradbury type books, like series of short stories called Tales from the Haunted Library. And he's Crow Scratch all the time. So whenever I see Crow now, I see this sort of like grizzled writer type with a bottle of scotch and
that is Evan incarnate for sure.
I love you, man.
I think Evan also loves AI stuff, so maybe to.
Oh, does he? Oh, great. Oh man, I'm a huge fan of that AI stuff. I went to the Big Data AI conference in Toronto a couple years ago, and had like the best time. It was like, first off, it's so much fun being at a conference where nobody knows who you are, because all of a sudden you can actually enjoy the conference. You can actually go to sessions and listen and write notes and then every so often someone would come up and say something, but it was, for the most part, it was pretty anonymous. And
that's how it is for me too. When I go to 3D printing conventions, I don't get anything done because everybody always, the autographs and the selfie. Oh wait, no, that's me asking for those.
But there is a bit of that though. Don't you find though with the YouTube stuff that you must get people coming up and
Oh
I'd
yeah,
say-
absolutely.
Yeah.
It was 2017. Xander and I went to New York Maker Faire, and he was completely convinced that people were going to be asking for selfies and stuff, to the point where I had set it up with somebody to make sure that they came and asked Xander for a
just
selfie
in case. Yeah,
at the pre-party.
The backup.
And we weren't 20 feet into New York Maker Faire, and we hear somebody yell from behind, "Fun King 3D!" And then, like, I mean, just some guy that we ended up like bumping into multiple times through the show. And I'm thinking, no, he's like, "Oh, I watch your stuff," and I'm like, "No, you don't." And he's like, "Yeah, I really do." And I'm like, "Nah, no, who put you up to this? Am I being punked? Like, because we weren't that old at that time. We were probably only 3 or 4 months in. But
Well, and it's just a whole new era of, like, I love it. I mean, I've got to say, I'm at a point now where I find this stuff far more interesting than film stuff, because I feel like film I don't know how you compete now with films. I mean, I think there'll always be a place for film in the way that there's always a place for theater. But the reality is, Baz would rather watch, well, maybe not this, no offense, but gaming videos. He'd much rather be watching YouTube than TV or movies in most cases. In fact, a lot of what was the movie we watched last night that we loved?
T-34.
T-34. So we watched this movie called T-34. It's a Russian tank movie. Look, I don't know what the story's like. I thought it was brilliant, though. Like, it is some of the best special effects. Xander, I guarantee you, Xander will love it.
What platform?
It's just what was it? What was it on? I think it might have been on Prime.
Prime.
Yeah, I think it was on Prime. But we watch this Corridor Crew, and we watch all this VFX, like VFX artists react and all this kind of stuff. And they'll do like their best CG and their bad CG. And they'll talk about stuff. And then these 2 movies came up. It was like this tank movie and then a bunch of the Terminators. Well, all of a sudden, Baz wants to watch Terminator and this tank movie. We got the tank movie last night. It is mind-blowing. Like slow-mo shots of like tank artillery coming through, Nazi bases and blowing up, and slow-mo sparks, and like tank to tank, like firing cannons at each other. It's beautifully done. I mean, the dubbing's a bit weird, but he admitted to watching your show. Yeah.
Mike's picking on me.
Yeah.
You should deflect them, but like, I can't believe he'd say that to our special guest.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is funny is he's sitting here watching the show. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. and commenting. Yeah. Yeah, Corridor Crew, Mitch 3D. Corridor Crew is amazing. Like, I just absolutely love what those guys do. Because you just learn. Like, you just learn stuff all the time. It's them. It's like Video Copilot, another one that's great for that stuff. Red Giant. I'm a huge fan of Red Giant, because they make all this software that allows you to do all these crazy, cool visual effects. And they've got me onto a lot of these channels and stuff. But
and the technology, I mean, you figure even going back 10 years ago, the computers that were needed to do the rendering just weren't accessible to everyday folks, and now, I mean, the computers that we're buying are so massively powerful compared to what they used to be. So it's
crazy to see
more accessible.
It's crazy to see the deep fake videos that desktop PCs that people have, with a mid-range video card are capable of spitting out and stuff, like the stuff they're able to generate. And you look at my favorite TV show growing up was a show called Reboot, which is a Canadian show.
Oh, Reboot. Yeah.
Made by Mainframe Entertainment. So
the first all computer animated TV series. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And they were talking about, like, they'd build their stuff and it would take like minutes to generate 1 second of video, right? So like a 30-minute or 24-minute episode, because commercials weren't nuts back then. A 24-minute episode would take like a month to generate the one video. So like they could write it and script it and everything and record it. And then the biggest time crunch was the fact that it was going to take computers forever to do that. But the main thing about Reboot is you go back and you watch season 1 and then season 2, and then like you go through it, and the technology improves so much between seasons. But there is a dramatic difference between the way the characters look in the first season and the final season.
You even see that with The Simpsons. You even see that if you watch The Simpsons, the difference in the animation techniques and quality that changes over those years is insane. The other thing that's interesting, sort of tie it back to 3D printing as well, is in the same way that we're seeing, I was seeing this huge split between what was possible and what was happening in Hollywood. I was seeing these spectacle Hollywood movies and going like, and then going on YouTube and seeing stuff and going like, oh my God, like being blown away by stuff that was being done in people's basements, much more so than like the Star Wars movies and stuff. Whereas like when I first started watching Star Wars, you would go and see Star Wars because you were seeing cutting edge. You would go to Hollywood films because you were seeing cutting edge VFX. And now I think you go to YouTube for that, honestly, because Hollywood's still catching up on that stuff in many cases.
Do you ever watch the series Captain Disillusion?
Yes, he's fantastic.
Yeah, the CGI and the special effects and stuff he incorporates into his show that he does, I think all of himself. It's so well done for somebody that's, like, especially when he got started, obviously just using a desktop computer and doing all this other stuff, and then him going in and explaining also how this stuff is done is, it's really interesting.
I love it.
Yeah,
and he uses a lot of Blender as well, which I love that it's an open source software. It's available for that. Like, I truly believe if you want to take over the world, learn 3D design software, because it's used in everything. It's used in gaming. It's used in the sciences, in biology. There's not an aspect of our world that isn't somehow improved or advanced by 3D design stuff.
Right. No, because what's better than, well, in fact, this thing, spending a year in the CAD process and building it 4 times over that year cost me nothing but time.
That's it.
Before I cut the first piece of material.
Yeah.
So to be able to physically see something before you manufacture it or before you produce it, or huge.
Well, we didn't, like, when we were doing Stargate, we didn't have 3D printing. All those things were handmade or hand molded or whatever it was. Now, I mean, for me now, there's no excuse not to have like again, the cosplay stuff, the cosplay costumes and technology that's being created,
but see,
is better than the Hollywood stuff.
That's the part of science fiction TV that I always enjoyed the most, was like watching the movies and stuff, and like as they're walking down the corridors, you go, oh, that's a toilet plunger.
Yeah.
That's been spray painted. So, like, I liked that. I liked the creativity of somebody walking through the hardware store going, I could turn that into a blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, but now you have now you design them, right? I mean, like, that's
now you just create something that isn't something else. And then, people just.
Well, Stargate, so Atlantis, all of the fancy sort of walls in the background. I mean, many of them were actually obviously hand done, but for a lot of the corridor sequences, they just took styrofoam from inside of like box packaging, flipped them over, glued them to the wall, and spray painted them different colors. So I was constantly putting my hand through like walls of. I learned very quickly. You don't lean on anything at Stargate because it's either on wheels full of water or made of styrofoam. So, like, I was sort of joking with my wife because I don't let her throw out any egg cartons anymore, because I glue them to the wall in my audition space, right? So I have a little space that has like a green screen and
because it absorbs audio, right? Like,
it's great for audio.
Yep.
Except they're just hideous, right? So the next thing is I got to figure out how to paint them in a way that. But I was joking that eventually I'm just going to start again. I'm going to recreate Stargate by just like gluing styrofoam things to the wall. Random.
Not to jump to other sci-fi, but you look at the original Ghostbusters, and the PKE meter is a shoe polisher.
Right. Yeah.
There's one shoe polishers, and then they attach the electronics and stuff to it. But it's, for a long time, people were buying these things up off eBay so they could make an authentic replica of a PKE meter. But now somebody's modeled the original like shoe shiner and all that stuff together.
Right.
So you can just 3D print it.
The number of Dysons that have killed alien invaders has got to be way up there.
The other thing I'm saying though, my wife and I were watching. We haven't finished it. Batwoman. The new show.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. What do you think of that?
It's pretty good. I don't find the acting is like top notch in it per se, but I feel like it's got that, because we're only watching season 1. I feel like it's got that like first season. Not everybody's comfortable with everybody. They haven't got the chemistry yet.
As I understand it, the second season is going to be quite different because
they're getting rid of the first. Well, no,
the actress quit.
The second season does have her, I think. The third season will not. They're going to recast it.
Sorry, Batwoman quit?
Yes, because she said,
who quit being Batwoman?
She said the role ended up being too physically taxing. And she wasn't ready.
You took Batwoman and you didn't think it was going to be physically taxing? I just figured I'd be standing around like hanging upside down? What? Somebody didn't read the comic books.
And so we're watching Batwoman, and there's a part where they have a 3D printer. And the 3D printer has been used to 3D print a necklace. It's an exact replica of another necklace, but it's made out of explosive material.
Ooh,
okay?
Nice.
I'm like, oh, that's an interesting twist. But the thing is, the printer looks like a Corrality CR10. I don't think it is a CR10, but it looks almost exactly the same as one. They haven't made any changes to it, so it's the traditional, this traditional gantry system with the 2 bars and everything like that, and it's got the traditional hot and everything. But, and I might be screwing up some of this because we watched it a couple of months ago, but it's using lasers, and the lasers are projecting from like where the hot end sort of is, and things are moving a little bit, but like it looks like the hot end stuff isn't even wired. Somebody just went, I've got this broken 3D printer, we can use that to, and just drop it on the set, and then we'll CGI the rest of the stuff to make it look like this. So it's like sending lasers out, and then the lasers are drawing like the pearls for the necklace, and I'm like, you can spend time.
Is it like incredibly fast?
Yeah, always incredibly fast.
Print, like real fast.
Yeah, I kind of laugh every time because like there's lots of shows like what's it called there? Lost in Space, the new one. And they have 3D printers.
Oh yeah, they're 3D printing guns and stuff. That's right.
And it's like and it finishes quick. I'm like,
yeah.
That looks an awful
Give me 3 seconds and I'll make this for you.
Do you think it'll get faster? I mean, it's got to get faster, right?
I don't know that FDM will get a lot faster because plastic only cools so fast. There's all sorts of stuff to overcome, but I think other things will come out past FDM that will be like the new resin printer that prints 4 times as fast because it uses a different curing technology and a different resin. So you can print a layer in 2 seconds versus 8 seconds. That's going to be a lot faster.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, they're not going to stop. There's always going to be something better coming along. I mean, look how far 3D printing has come since its birth.
Yep.
I wonder even about like molding too. And it was funny. We were talking about one of the guys who, when we did the 1440 makers, and so one of those brilliant 3D printers out there was doing this was trying the printing on fabrics and such.
David Story.
Amazing stuff. Yep. But I kept thinking there's a printer for this. Like, I feel like at some point someone's going to have to say, okay, you're using 3D printing technology to print on fabric. We now need to create a printer that prints on fabric because I feel like there are extra things that could
you could get it to actually print the fabric.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Get it to actually like from nothing create the whole process.
Yeah, it's like a new multi-extrusion system, but it's not just everything goes through the hot end. You have different machine ends that can do different things, right? And you start combining these technologies.
Once you get into more nano, like you could even have systems of. I was just thinking about for speeding up the 3D printing. You could just have a series of like nano pins that shape whatever shape you want. Are created in a pixelated nano pin form, and then you put your material in there, and it would just be can automatically stick to the sides, and you've got I'm sure it's going to be as we get better with this technology. I'm sure it's got to improve, and it will probably improve not just as you say with the FDM stuff, right? Is it FDM? Is I'm saying that right?
Yeah.
Form deposition,
fused deposition mission. Fused. I'm going to get it wrong though. Yeah,
right.
I think it is fused deposition model.
I just tell the kids it's a glue gun.
Yeah,
it's a giant glue gun it's like a robot's got a glue gun.
That's I am like it's a mechanized glue gun attached to an Etch-a-Sketch is the way I explain it. It's like you turn this and it moves this way. You turn this way and it moves this way, and then you just add one more axis to it and you're there. I've come up with all different sorts of because people are constantly I don't understand 3D printing. I'm like okay, so when you think about you have a 3D model. Say a loaf of bread is a 3D model. Yep. So you've got this 3D piece of loaf of bread. And then you can cut that bread into individual pieces. And each one of those pieces could represent a 2D part of that total 3D model. You stack them together and you end up with all these cuts, which represent your individual layers. And you end up with something that, looks like you could do the same thing with cardboard.
That's good. Yeah.
You could take a bunch of drawings of something, trace it on a cardboard, cut it, then glue them together.
That's how I explain it to people at the maker fairs is if you think about like a stack of Post-it notes, and if you drew something one layer at a time on each piece of Post-it note, that's pretty much how it works.
Right.
It draws itself over and over on top of itself, the thickness of a sheet of paper.
So we need to get nanobots down to the Star Trek level. I was watching. I don't know if David's a Star Trek fan at all.
I was a big. I used to love the original one, and then I watched Next Generation, but or TNG, what they call it.
Yeah, TNG, the Next Generation.
But again, I was never obsessive. I was obsessive about Doctor Who. I was never obsessive about Star Trek. So I would watch TNG when as it was on.
You enjoyed it, but it wasn't like you made it.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't I wasn't sort of religious about it.
Well, there's an Enterprise episode. Enterprise was the last, like, let's say traditional Star Trek series before they did the rebooting of it with like the new one Discovery and like Picard with the new sort of direct things. But there's an episode that deals with the Borg, which were introduced in Next Gen, and they actually show close-ups of the nanobots that the Borg use, and like they show them going into broken cells and then like repairing them and stuff, and then like converting energy from one thing to another thing. And I was like, like it seems like science fiction now, but technology keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's not impossible to think that you're going to be able to build a robot that can use energy derived from something within the body, because it's not going to need a ton of power, and
chemical process.
Yeah, exactly. It harvests a little what's around there, and it can, you can put it in your bloodstream, and it can go through and it can find plaque in the heart and remove the plaque from the heart or whatever, break it down, all that type of stuff.
But if you think back to the original Star Trek, even the communicator seemed like such science fiction.
Yeah, well, remember the medical scanner?
And then
tricorder. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like now people are like, well, okay, so you can think it up. Now we're going to make it happen.
Well, I talked to one of the guys who runs OpenBCI, so this Open Brain Computer Interface company out of Brooklyn, and he said that, because I tend to sort of start with like, I play a scientist on TV. I don't know any of this stuff, but I'm interested in it type thing. And he's like, well, he was like, well, don't belittle that too much, because science fiction is the first stage of engineering. It's the dreaming phase, right? You got to come up with these ideas, and science fiction is kind of like your 3D modeling approach to thought, where you dream of things that are possible, and then you work towards making them possible. So, which is why I always come back to the 3D design software as the most important part of all of this. I love the 3D printing. I could be lost in the weeds on the actual process of 3D printing, but I always come back to the fact that like you gotta have those design skills. Otherwise, it's like trying to draw without. It's like trying to, if you don't draw every day, you lose the knack for that kind of stuff. So I really feel like 3D design is and it gets lost a lot in the school stuff as well, right? You get a lot of this like, oh, we're doing 3D printing at school, and it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, watch it print? I mean, like it's
download something off the internet and print it out.
I mean, Tinkercad is great that way, because Tinkercad now has a component where you can build something in Tinkercad and then print it in Lego. So it'll give you the Lego pieces needed to build what you've just created in Tinkercad.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it also has another one where you can, again, design it in Tinkercad, print it into Minecraft. So you can now walk around and look at this thing you've created, because as they've realized, not everyone has the sheer determination to do 3D printing, or the money to have a printer,
or the time it takes to print something out.
Yeah, so this is within seconds. You can watch the little building you created turn into a Lego. The instructions for a Lego thing, and it just goes layer by layer. It tells you what each layer, what the pieces would be, and it keeps it at standard pieces as well.
Interesting.
I saw a post on Reddit where somebody designed something somewhere else and then they imported it into Minecraft. And like you're saying, there's all these tools and stuff where it's like you make something somewhere else and then it does all the stuff and it generates it. And then, you just have to do an import function or whatever, and you can bring it into the game.
Yeah, it's still a bit kludgy. It's still not perfect. There's still a lot of stuff to do.
But it's still a lot faster than placing it like block by block.
Yeah.
So somebody posted something like, I spent the time to build this and blah, blah, blah. And it was like a tower. And then they built a mirror version of the tower. So it like comes up to a peak and then it meets with itself. So it's like if you're looking at a reflection on a pond type thing. And there's a detective of Reddit that looks in and goes, based on, and it's like the plant formation, because you could see the farms and stuff in the beginning. He's like, these pictures were obviously taken less than 20 minutes apart. He was able to determine based on the way stuff related. Therefore, you use this program to import it. And now you're trying to, like farm karma by saying, look at what I did by hand. And it's like, no, you used a program, you imported it from somewhere else and did it. And
oh, wow.
It's crazy that somebody can look at this and then like zoom in on all the little things and be like, oh, these plants only raised by one tile. And this animal that was visible in the first one is over here in the second one, which means it hasn't wandered off. And he posted like 3 paragraphs of here's the explanation as to why you're lying.
Well, that's kind of like what Captain Disillusionment does too, right?
Yes, exactly. Which is why I love that show, right?
Yeah. He's I'm amazed. I think he's amazed as well. I'm amazed he's not bigger in the YouTube community.
I thought he should be in the millions, and I like last time I checked him, I think he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go look because I have.
He's surprisingly lower than I thought he would be. But I think he's also surprised. I think he's pointed out a few times as well that he's surprisingly lower than he thought he was.
He seems to have. He's almost to 2 million subscribers. So
no, that's way more.
He's at like 600,000.
Never underestimate amateur Minecraft forensics. Yeah, there you go. We did it. One of the funnerest tech bandits that I did was I had a kid. We did there was like a fundraiser at school, and so as one of the things I said, I'll do it's a come to the lab for an hour or two of doing some tech bandit stuff. So I had this kid come around who was a big gamer. He did a lot of Roblox. He's a huge Roblox fan, and so I talked to his parents and found out that he called himself the Golden Eagle gamer and stuff, and so I found this Golden Eagle logo thing, and we turned it into a 3D model, and I printed it out on the printer so that when he came over, we had the 3D model on the printer for him. We then went to Roblox and imported it and was able, we're able to climb around on this thing in Roblox as well. And it was just such a great, without even meaning to, it was this great way of sort of introducing him to the idea of 3D design and just all the different, that it's all just the same model. It's all just being, and that way how cross-platform this whole idea of a 3D model is, I find it I wish there were more hours in the day, honestly. I just thought there's too much fun stuff to play with.
I know, but it's that work thing always gets in the way.
Well, as I say, right now, it's not a problem.
Well, it is for me. I'm still working. I mean,
what is the day job? What is the day job for you?
I'm a construction estimator. I do construction estimating, and then I'm their IT manager. So it's kind of balancing between those two.
So you're using the 3D design stuff for that work as well?
Not really. Pretty much everything I do is flat. I mean, I get the blueprints, and then I just go in and take off the materials.
Well, it's 3D minus 1 then.
What's that?
It's 3D minus 1.
It is 3D minus 1.
Right.
But I will tell you what, the architect firms that send out the Axum drawings so that you can actually see the building in 3D. Now, it messes with me because when I pull up the sheet, I try to rotate it because I'm so used to working in things that I can rotate around. But being able to see that building in 3D is huge to me.
Yeah.
For reveals and all of that stuff. And it's really amazing that more firms aren't using that. I mean, you're already drawing it. What's the difference?
Yep.
Yeah, why aren't they? I'm assuming they're using a CAD software to do the drawings anyways, right? I mean,
yeah, but apparently they're drawing them flat, or they're just not including that with it. But I mean,
they're being charged extra for that.
Oh, you get charged by the sheet.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, they'll cheat in a lot of different ways.
So from the estimating standpoint, though, if you had a 3D model, you could literally tell them you could tell them to the brick how many bricks they need.
Well, we actually do, even 2D. Yeah, I've written the software that we use, and I'm not going to mention them because I'm not going to give them any free advertising. But I mean, it's probably one of the most used estimating softwares out there. But it's not without its issues. It's definitely got some issues. In fact, they've been working on a 64-bit version now for 3 years.
Really?
We're still using a 32-bit version.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yeah, but I went through and custom wrote tools. It's written in Pascal, which I don't actually.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I kind of just limped my way through it, but the way that we used to do it. So, for instance, taking off concrete block, we would draw a line, and it would tell us, okay, so you have 110 feet of this line, and then we would manually calculate. Well, the wall's 10 feet tall, and so I have 110 feet. That's this many square feet. And you times that by 1.125 to get the number of block, and it was sheets and sheets of handwritten paper to do that. And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. And I've gone in and written my own tools in there now, where when we draw a line, it tells me how many block, how much rebar, how much grout, how much labor, how much sand, everything based on that. So even with it just being 2-dimensional, I just have to know how tall the wall is.
Right.
So, but
have you told them that, or do you still go away for a week and come back and then go, whoa, Here are the numbers.
When it was just me, when I was the only estimator, I could get by with that. But now that there's more estimators, we all have to kind of stay on the same page.
Right.
But
I remember I worked at a voicemail company years and years ago. I got sort of disillusioned with acting and said, that's it, I'm going off. And I got like a $9 an hour job at this little company in the middle of nowhere. And they had they ran a voicemail. So it was a packet network, but it existed around the world. There were these little nodes all over the world that they set up. And it was all for this multi-level marketing stuff. And I came in and they were taking orders for these mailboxes in one system, in one database system. Then they were printing out the sheets of the numbers that they had to create. And then they were taking them to the QNX machine that ran the network and then hand typing them all in. So, and this was back in like the Procom Plus modem days. So I wrote a Procom Plus script that just basically took a CSV file from their stuff and uploaded all these numbers. And because it just made sense. And but like everyone kept saying at the end of it was just like, you told them? Why would you tell them? Like that's like you could have sat there and read like anything. You could have just gone away for like 6 weeks and come back, and they'd still be like, "Wow, only 6 weeks to put in all those numbers." But like an idiot, I just because I had such an ego, I was like, "I want to show you how brilliant I am. I did this," and they're like, "Great, can you do this?" And the best one was I trained this kid. There was a kid there who I think he was doing like some kind of an intern thing, and he was having a hard time with it. They were giving him just crap jobs. And I said, well, come and look at, you're a nerd. Come let's look at this stuff. And I got him sort of going on this stuff, but to the point where I came in one day and I went in and I ran this script and I sort of went away. I got my coffee. I came back again and I freaked out because it's deleting mailbox, pages of this. And I panicked because I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And then he's killing himself. All he's done is just rewrite the screen. So instead of writing that it was setting up the mailbox, it said deleting all mailboxes. And that was when I knew I was screwed. So I moved on soon after that. But because he knew the student had become the master. So it's I can't remember what the point of that was. But just I love the coding side of stuff. I love.
Yeah, it's pretty well known around my company that if I have the same task by the third time, I'm going to automate it.
Right.
I refuse to do the same thing over and over and over again if the computer can do it for me.
Well, I feel the same way about robots now, right? I don't understand why humans are doing jobs that are damaging or dangerous to humans when we've got robots that can do that now.
Oh, robots are expensive.
Yeah, it's true.
Humans are free.
Humans are free and cheap, exactly, and that's the problem. So we got to make robots a lot cheaper.
That's what it comes down to, yeah. And people don't want to give up their job. They don't want to lose their job to a robot.
Well, it's funny. I had a discussion with the tech bandits about that the other day, and they were saying like, well, you can't, we can't get rid of all these jobs. I mean, what are people going to do for a living? And I was like, make robots. Yeah. Well, the story that I love about this was like 1950s America, where all of a sudden there was an electric washing machine, right? So all of a sudden, this whole generation of women who would have spent all day because that was their allotment in life, was that they were going to go and they would have to do all the cooking and the cleaning. So all of a sudden they had like 5 hours in the day that they weren't washing by hand everyone's dirty underwear. And all of a sudden they could go back to school. They could start reading. They could start joining book clubs. And
then they wanted to vote.
There you go.
Getting everybody riled up right before the end of the stream. Good job.
That's it. That's right.
Way to be controversial.
I have to remember too. There's a lot of people in here that are new to us today because of David being here. So please understand, I have just a really weird sense of humor.
Like they don't know that from me.
I don't mean it.
If you're friends with David, chances are you're also going to be friends with the people that follow him.
Yeah, we're a pretty funnily odd bunch. Us, our Twitch stream is always quite an eclectic little bunch. It's fun.
You notice I haven't said anything bad about Canada this whole stream.
Yeah, you've been very good. It's true. Very, very good.
Very un-American of you.
Yeah. Well, no, it's funny. One of the first things that happened to me when I moved down to LA, I can't remember now, many, many years ago. And the first I got there and I was so intrigued by the fact that I could order food and it would arrive at my door. Because again, Canada was so far behind on this stuff. And I sat down to watch TV as I waited for my sandwiches to show up. And there's a whole report on the worst bombings in American history. And I went through all of the bombings that had happened, one of these like real life drama things. And like number 4 on the list was the Montreal bombings. I was like, wait a sec, Montreal's not in America. It's like, but apparently no one had.
It's really close.
Yeah, it's close enough. So that's when I was like, I think America looks at Canada slightly differently than Canada looks at
We're
America.
America's hat.
Exactly.
I just had the biggest moment of deja vu. Did we discuss this during the 1440s Maker and I made the same joke?
We might have. Oh my God, are we in loop now? We're in a loop. We're just going from podcast to podcast, repeating stories.
Yeah, doing the same,
I hope that when we
same material.
I hope when we get out of this loop, we find out that 2020 has been over for a while.
Yeah, seriously.
Just jump out the end, skip the last 6 months of it. That'd be
indeed. Indeed.
I think the funniest thing I've seen lately is somebody posted a picture. It's like, can we uninstall 2020? This version has a virus.
Yeah. Let's hope it's only 2020 that has the virus. It's I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen with school next year. Right? Like whether that's going to be a socially distanced school, or they're talking about having 3 days a week instead of 5. I was like, oh great, we're paying for that.
Well, I read a article not long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, that said, at least as far as here in the U.S., that the whole distance learning was a failure overall in the United States.
Oh, was it?
So, I mean, like we did now Xander is homeschooled. Well, he's virtual schooled anyway. Like he does all school online because the local middle school here isn't great. And that's putting it nicely. But Zach's still in elementary school, and our elementary school is fantastic.
Right.
So we kept Xander out of public school. We figured through middle, and he's been doing fine with the virtual school. So then all of a sudden, here comes Zach. Now Zach's 9 years old. He's diagnosed ADD. His brain
right here, buddy, right here.
Well, I was going to say his brain works a lot like mine. I never realized that I was ADD until they diagnosed my kid with ADD, and all of a sudden I started going, "Hey,
that makes sense."
That all of a sudden makes sense to me. Yeah,
no, it was the same thing for me. Exactly the same for me. I started worried about him, and then all of a sudden the doc's saying like,
it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
The best one I had from that one was that the doc said, well, I could diagnose if you want, but the reality is I've sent you home 4 times with the form to answer the questions, and you haven't done it. So I'm thinking we've answered that question already. Sorry, go ahead.
But we were really afraid, because all of a sudden now we were what, 4 weeks from school being over, or 5 weeks from school being over for the year. Was it 9 weeks? He was here for 9 weeks. Whew. So they're always here. They never go away.
No, it's true. Wait till do they sleep? Mine doesn't.
They're always here. I'm never alone.
Davey's within earshot.
So all of a sudden, well, they're all right here right now. So we were really afraid of, because my wife takes care of Xander in his school and like sets up his schedule and everything. And she's like, I can handle it with Xander. There's no way I can handle it with Zach. And then all of a sudden, here comes COVID-19 and says, guess what?
Handle this.
Do or do not. There is no try.
And some kids don't react well.
It perfectly.
See, Baz preferred it. Baz preferred it.
He did absolutely amazing. The only thing is he, out of everybody in this household, he is the social one. He's the one that likes to be around people, and he misses his friends. And, I'm like, wow, nobody's knocked on my door for 2 months, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I got 2 months more. I'm happy. Yeah. No, it's the same. I think Baz has actually, I don't know what he's learned. We'll find out, I guess. But he's definitely, he's in his element because he's learning online. He's conversing with his friends. He's got 15 different screens going all the time. He's getting his work done.
Now, does he get it done quicker?
No, it's still the last second. It's still always the last minute generally.
Well, see, now that's how Xander is as far as like his day. I don't know. His days are pretty much done by noon or 1.
Right.
he's done with school like a month and a half before anybody else in public school.
Yeah, Baz is over earlier. Baz definitely, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell because it honestly depends on the kid, I think. Because I've got one young lady in Tech Bandits who's at the public school that we didn't send Baz to because he just wasn't, I mean, just couldn't, he was just he was just lost. There was just no, wasn't a lot of problem. He wasn't at the top and he wasn't the worst. So it was just sort of like he was just getting by. She's incredibly motivated and stuff. And she's doing amazing things. But then I talk to other people who are in the same class. Forget it. Like, I mean, there's just nothing. I don't, they're still trying to figure out how to swallow the webcam while their teachers are, the best one I learned, and I'm sure I'm repeating myself on a lot of things I'm sure today, but the best one I learned was apparently when you're doing the Zoom chat, you just change your name to what's it called? Reloading? Reconnecting, .. And then turn off your video, and you get all your class to do it at the same time, and then you get to hear the teacher just swearing, and like, we're like, it's brilliant. I was like, isn't that great?
There was a Reddit post where a kid did that, and he misspelled reconnecting, and the teacher's like, well, I'm going to give him props for the attempt, but the follow-through was terrible.
I just thought that was great. It's like 3, 2, 1. Everyone disconnects, and they just hear the teacher going off. The other one that they did was apparently in Japan. There was an app there was an education app that was put out and went to all of the schools, and then it got booted off of Apple. It just disappeared, so they couldn't use it anymore because what the kids had learned was that if you give it such a bad rating and a lot of bad reviews, Apple has like algorithms that pull it out of rotation. So the kids all got together and had this app removed from the store because of it. Yeah.
Maybe the world's going to survive after all. If
they're obviously smarter than we are. It's great.
Yeah, when my company, and again, I worked from home since I started with this company because we didn't have an office when I started with this company. So, and when they got it, I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to work with you people. I'm just going to stay home. But so all of a sudden they said, all right, COVID's here. Everybody work from home for a couple of weeks or whatever. So we still had we went to a daily meeting instead of a weekly meeting, which was
inconvenient.
Zoom meetings, yeah. But I don't have a webcam on my desktop machine. So the first meeting we had, I did it from here in the studio. I put on the Fun King shirt. No. I was in the studio.
Oh, that's great.
I used the fancy cameras. I would, I've got my detail cam so I can get in real close.
Nice. Oh, now I can see the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need the detail camera to see it.
So I really hammed it up that first day. Well, then all of a sudden I just started doing the meetings at my desk so I could continue to work because meetings to me are a complete and utter waste of time. And
it really feels fun.
So what's that?
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. So, I always do. That's how I'm wired, man. So my boss finally said, he goes, why don't you ever turn on your webcam? And I'm like, I don't have a webcam. Well, you did the first day. And I'm like, that's my studio. Yeah. I don't have a camera on this machine and I don't have one to put on here. Cause like all of a sudden everybody in the house had to have a webcam for everything that they did. Yeah. And so what I did was I set OBS up with a bunch of different scenes, which were nothing more than reaction GIFs. So like when the meeting would start, like I had my picture up there, but when the meeting would start, I'd punch over and it was Forrest Gump, and so I had all these different reaction GIFs and it was so much fun. Like I only did that. Well, in fact, I think that was the last online meeting we had. And then all of a sudden we didn't need to have online meetings anymore. But it was like every time somebody would do something, I'd punch up and everybody would be laughing and stuff. Nobody was paying any attention.
Well, that's exactly the problem that schools are having. The best meeting I heard of, they had to do their weekly meetings. They were holding them in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah.
So they're all going into the game. Like I was like, that's how to have a meeting.
Yeah,
like,
they would all sit around the campfire and have a meeting, and then
like that's. And I guess eventually we'll be doing that in a kind of a virtual space, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Second Life is going to get a second life because of this.
Yeah. God, what happened to Second Life? That was going to be everything.
A lot of bad things happened to Second Life.
Did it?
Well, I mean, all of them inappropriate.
Oh, okay.
Second Life got taken over by the fact that you could be anything and do anything.
Right. Yeah. I guess that freedom's always done so well.
Yes.
You know, that 4chan model of virtual reality, probably not a good one to go with.
I would say that was probably my first like kick at the can at doing 3D modeling though, because there was a 3D modeling engine. You could design things in the game.
Huh.
I built a exact replica of the bridge from Star Trek Enterprise in there with like all the artwork and stuff like that, and then like working buttons and stuff like that. I saw some really impressive recreations and stuff. It was really interesting to be able to like take tours of existing facilities virtually recreated in places.
I think Minecraft got me into it. I think Minecraft got me into the 3D modeling side of stuff because I just
the block.
Yeah. Well, and blocks are just easier to get your head around. I mean, basically. That was it.
It took me a while to get my brain to accept 3D design. Like I had done 2D CAD prior to, and then
what did you use for 2D CAD? What was the software you're using?
I used
Autodesk stuff? Or?
Yeah, AutoCAD. I want to say it was AutoCAD 10, but it might have been even before that. And there was one other one, and now I can't remember what it was because I worked for a tint company doing the vinyl graphics, and sign software just wasn't what it is today. You know, like it was really so you could actually do better work inside of a CAD program and then export it out into the sign cutting program,
right? Which
is where I got started. And then I want to say it would have been in the 90s. What would have had to have been in the 90s? I decided that I was going to build this little boat that it was originally in a 1970s Popular Mechanics magazine. It's made out of 1/2-inch plywood. It's got an outboard motor on the back, but you ride it squatting, kind of like an older jet ski. And I'd found the plans online, and I thought I'm going to do that. And so I reached out to the guy. I said, "Is there any way I could buy the CAD drawings?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, but it's in a program called Rhino that not a lot of people use." And I said, "Well, okay." So I bought them anyway. And then the company I was working for at the time, I went to them and I told them I was working on this project and I needed this piece of software, and they gave me approval to buy a copy of Rhino 3D, and I've been using it ever since. And
did you build the boat? That's the real question.
Yeah, did you get the boat?
Kind of. It's built. It's just not finished.
Welcome to the other reality
from
of
the
3D
90s.
printing.
It's actually sitting in the bed of a project pickup truck that I have that I've also been working on since the 90s.
I mean, to be completely fair, I have a display shelf. I have 2 display shelves that I've run across the side of the room, and they're full of different arcade designs. And the vast majority of them don't have screens or anything. They're in various states. The first one is a scaled replica of a Donkey Kong cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
The second one was the first mini arcade cabinet. Then there's the Turtles one and a Neo Geo cabinet. My follow through is not fantastic.
Well, I think that's part of it, though. I think the kind of brains that are drawn to this stuff aren't necessarily good at. I think it's intent. I find it's very ADHD for me, in that it's intense, singular, which you don't normally associate with ADHD. Intense, singular focus, and then none at all.
Yeah,
and then because we only know now, and later.
Yes,
and later doesn't exist to us. So it's like that's the way I look at it from my,
I have 2 projects that I was working on pre-COVID, and they were like, I've been hammering away at them and all this design stuff. And like every night I would finish a little piece of it. I'd 3D print it. The next morning I'd get up and test fit it to see what adjustments needed to be made and stuff like that. I was working on it constantly.
Sorry. It took me a second to pull that up. I didn't mean to throw that. I thought it was going to let me like hold it for a second, but that's
the thing.
That's the boat. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, I gotta say.
So, and what's really cool about, here's the picture from Popular Mechanics back in the 70s. What's really cool about it was designed for a 15 horsepower, a 15 to I think 30 horsepower outboard, but that's based on weight, and outboards of today are way lighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've determined that I could actually put like a 50 horsepower engine on.
Oh my God.
Can you Twitter link that to me? I want to send that to my brother because he'll probably build one. That would be right up his alley.
Oh, there's a challenge right there.
Yeah.
He'll probably get it done before me.
Oh, so I had 2 projects I was working on, and like I do a little bit every day, but my focus was always on it because I get all absorbed. Like it drives my wife nuts because I'll come up with a project and then 24/7 I'm thinking about it, I'm drawing it, and I talk about it all the way through constantly. I never shut up about it. And these projects were like just about ready to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to print the final copies, assemble them, And then COVID hit. Every one of my 3D printers went to printing PPE, like the personal protective gear. Now I have to get back into them. I'm going to have to force myself to actually get back into them. They're 95% completed, but I'm like, I've already started working on other stuff. You know, my focus is gone, and it's really hard to force yourself back into there.
You know what I've started doing was I learned actually, if you've got any, like the way I learned it, which I think is kind of interesting, is that it's a spectrum, right? It's like we're all ADHD. It just depends on what different sort of the different colors of the spectrum that we're into, right? Some people are more, are better or worse at different things. I found the bullet journal like the best way of doing it. They have this system called bullet journaling, which because my big thing is notes. Like I got little notes everywhere. There's freaking sticky notes all over the place, and then I never come back to them. Yeah. So the idea was you just have one place where you write all this stuff down, and you write it. Like it's not a digital thing, which is completely wrong to me. Like I go, no, it should be digital. But as she points out, the problem with digital is it's like squirrel. It's like the worst kind of squirrel because there's too many other things to get into. But the bullet journal, you write the stuff down and then you create an index for it at the front. So every time so you've got a series of stuff that relates to something, you just jot a little note at the front that says page 50 is talking about whatever it was. And then, but it forces you to just start putting things into like, just for the day, just like the different, like I want to make sure I do this, and this. And I often find like 3 days later, I go back and go, oh, well, I wrote down this list of things to do, and then I didn't write anything for 2 days. So, but it does keep you sort of on track on some stuff.
I use Trello. It's digital, but I use
Trello, yeah.
Because you make the cards. And that actually, I think it was somebody in this group that suggested it, but I started with this because like, as I thought about my problem, again, being ADHD, is I'll be working on part A and I'll go, oh, part B needs a blah, blah. And I'll move over to part B and walk away from part A. So with Trello, instead of moving to part B, I was able to create a card. And then I could go in and I had this needs to be done. This is in progress. This is on hold and this is complete. And then I could move those cards as I went. And it's gotten now to the point where it's so useful to my brain that I have like 10 different Trellos for different things that I'm working on.
I'll have to check that out then. I mean, I much prefer the idea of something digital, but I do find that when I write things down, I remember them better. I don't know what it is. There's something about the process, the physical process of it.
See, I find when I write things down and I go back, I can't read it because I have terrible handwriting.
Well, there's that too. Oh my God. That's a whole other thing. I'm the son of a doctor. Like the guy I don't think he even bothered to learn how to write.
Do you guys also have the thing where you'll get something 90%, you get something to the point where it's functional and then there's all this polish or whatever that you have to do. And it's like, once it's functional, I think the perfect example for me, I think Glenn ran you through the Stream Deck that he designed where you push the button.
Yeah.
So I started working on something and then I reached out to him. And once again, it turned out like he and I share a brain. We often like hit the same projects around the same time.
Right.
This wasn't the same type of thing, but I thought of this project and then I messaged him like, I just realized I've been designing something that's basically ripping off something that you've already done. So I built a Stream Deck.
Nice.
Yes. This is the current setup of it. So it's got 9 buttons. It's got an OLED on it. It's a display. So when you push the button, it tells you what that button's going to do. So there's like a verification mode. So if you forget which button's supposed to switch to camera 3, you can push them. And then you end up pushing the button twice to like lock into that one. And then one of the things Glenn said is like, you got to find a way so that when you change the configuration, you don't have to reflash the Arduino to get it to change the configuration stuff. I put an SD card reader in it. And then it basically just has a text parser, so you can go in and edit the text file to say which key combinations each of the buttons.
Yeah, because that was the biggest hang up with mine is to reprogram the buttons. You have to open it in the IDE, set it in the code, reflash it back to the Arduino. So that was the one thing I'm like, no, you got to figure this out.
So this works, and I've set it up so that you don't even you can push the buttons without hitting any of the wires. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to move on to actually like building the thing, and that it hasn't happened because this works.
Well, at least you got them working. I got so many not working things. It's like, I don't know, I think that's part of it. I mean, and I feel like some stuff, there's time to get finished, and you often find out what's important by what does get done. And then eventually there's also, I find myself struggling to do stuff, and then Baz will be gaming and I'll just go like, so I finished that. or do I go hang out with my son and just play some games? And that's
a little game.
I go play, and I try
with your son.
And that's it. I feel like in the long run, I'll remember that probably more than I will that I haven't yet done the Gecko weather station that I was working on,
I've gotten really good at doing projects for other people where I'll do the design work and printing and all that stuff. And then I hand them off so I never have to look at them again.
Actually, that's the best way to do it. Like I partner up on stuff that I should probably be able to do on my own. But I partner up on stuff sometimes because of exactly that reason. First off, there's an obligation, like you feel like I've got to get this done.
Right. You got somebody holding you accountable.
And also other people are just better at organizing stuff. Like I long ago gave up on trying to organize stuff because I am so squirrel.
We bought our property here in 2004 and I built the house. Like I physically built the house. And
I've always wanted to do that.
Someday I hope to tell you when I finish it.
Well, what did they say? Man, was it house finished, man die? Like basically your house is never finished. It's like a Chinese proverb or something. Like it's apparently you never finish it.
Well, it really came down. I mean, it takes a long time to build a house by yourself, but it came down to like it was taking so long. And then like I had built such a good relationship with the inspector. I'm like, listen, what do I have to have done?
Right.
And so like she gave me a list of stuff that I had to have. Like our master bathroom wasn't even done for a couple of years. And in fact, I finished that. I think it'll be 2 years this Christmas. So 2 years ago this Christmas, we've been in the house for 8 years.
Wow.
But I don't have any baseboard. Well, I don't really have any baseboard. Very, very little bit of window trim. In fact, if you go back to some of my early videos where we were at that desk over there, the window behind me has trim around it only because it was in the background of the YouTube video.
And you could do it in a short span of time.
It was the first window in the whole house to get any window trim.
Yeah.
So I've repainted a ton of the rooms in our house since we moved in. And all of the rooms I've painted have one thing in common. None of them have the plastic molding reapplied around the outlets and stuff because I never went back and finished the detail work. You walk into our bedroom right now and I painsticking because I don't tape stuff off anymore. So I go like steady hand underneath so everything I painstakingly painted, get everything set up, move everything back into the room. Like, okay, all I have to do is reattach this stack of plates around the switches and outlets and stuff. Never happens. I repainted the bedroom 1.5 years ago.
I am so glad this is not just me. I have found my people.
Yeah.
with stuff like that,
it's very, very busy.
Yeah, when you're moving into a new house, don't hang the TV until everything else is done.
Oh, that's good.
Like so that you don't just sit down and watch TV. When you paint a room, don't put the bed back in there until everything is done.
That's Jane's trick. Jane's the same thing. She's like, no. The bedroom, we're not putting anything in that bedroom until it's done.
Yeah, see, and I'm like, well, we can get by without this. I'll do it a little bit at a time. And in fairness, I have been doing it a little bit at a time. A very, very little bit.
Well, and I also don't care. Like, I just don't, there's some stuff I just don't, like, why do I need trim? Does it make a difference to me or not? Like, not really. But it does to Jane.
You don't need it. I mean, you do for the house to look complete, but I mean, we've lived without it for all this time. My stairs are still the rough treads. They're 2x12 pine treads.
My basement.
I have the really nice oak ones. They're in the closet under the stairs. But I don't have a basement. We're two floors, but no basement because it would be an indoor swimming pool. But
that's basically what it's like having a house in Toronto. We all have basements, and it's like this myth that you can have a basement in Toronto because the reality is as soon as it rains, they fill up with water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I think it was 2 years ago. This coming Christmas, my company had given us a week off. They gave us a week from Christmas to New Year's off because nothing happens in the construction industry.
Yeah.
At Christmas time. In fact, by Halloween, things are just grinding to a halt.
Really? Oh, well, I guess that makes sense because you're thinking so far in advance anyway.
Well, because everybody, like the fiscal year is getting ready to roll and everybody's in that holiday mode. No new projects are taking off. It just, so you can have the week off. So I spent the week finishing my master bathroom. I went in and tiled everything and completely. The only thing, the bathroom had one functional sink and a toilet. And then, and the bathtub. The bathtub did get put in and hooked up.
Right.
So, but to get the mortgage for the house, the bathroom had to be done. So I went and bought 36-cent peel and stick tiles and put on the floor. I brought in a vanity from my garage bathroom and put it against the wall so it looked like we had a functional sink. I covered the shower walls in a 4x8 sheet of masonite that looked like white 4-inch tile. Like I put it up there and caulked the seams, and then I took a shower valve set and screwed it to the wall. Like the plumbing is on this wall, but I screwed it to this wall because I put the masonite right over the top of the plumbing. Like I faked the whole entire bathroom to get financing on the house.
I believe they call that staging in the real estate game.
That's right.
Exactly. I definitely staged it. So, and then I called the lady and I'm like, okay, it's done. Can I just send you pictures? And she's like, no, we have to come out and take pictures. So of course I'm sweating it. You know, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to realize it's fake. And they came in and took pictures and the guy goes, this looks great. Aren't you glad now it's done? And I'm like, yep.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I'm like, I got to tear all this crap out and do it again.
Oh my God, Ben, you must have been. I would be freaking out. I would have confessed. The guy shows up with a camera. I would have confessed right away.
But I mean, technically, like, you know, like when I walked into the bathroom ahead of him, I'm like, oh, sorry. And I flushed the toilet and put the seat down because the toilet was functional. You know, like it's working. Please don't wash your hands.
Oh God. Man, that's good.
James Miller said, Glenn, you do realize you're on a public forum. Yeah, it's fine. It's not like the mortgage company's going to come back and be like, ooh,
here you go. That's like wishing it to happen right there.
Yeah, I spent
like the mortgage guys are watching. Hey, we're right
here.
here.
The mortgage guys are watching. Thanks, guys. I spent like $200 faking the bathroom so that I could go back and spend like $3,000 to do it right later.
I can't get over how expensive bathrooms
came from.
What's that?
I said that's where the origin of fake it till you make it came from.
Yeah.
I can't get over how expensive renovations are. I can't get over how
kitchens and bathrooms,
that stuff. Yeah.
Kitchens and bathrooms will absolutely kill you. Now, my shower is really, well, it's big. I wanted a big shower, so we put a big shower in. So it's like 3.5 by 7. Like it's big. It's got two different temperature controls because I couldn't get enough water in there with one. And then 4 volume controls. There's a rain shower head, a handheld, a regular one, and 4 body jets.
Oh my God.
I run all of them, I have a 105-gallon hot water tank in the house. If I run all the shower heads, I can only shower for about 8 minutes, and I'm out of hot water.
That's like I have to do. One of our new missions is the top floor bathroom. I have to do it's really just it technically shouldn't be that complicated, but I just know as soon as I pull that bathtub out, it's going to be like, oh, look, that's where the family of raccoons lives.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Where'd all this rock come from?
Yeah.
So I hate to be that guy. We're actually 31 minutes past the end of the show at this point.
Are we?
We are. The stream is 4 to 6. It is now 6:30.
Oh.
And
well, it's been fun.
It has.
We even got a little bit of 3D printing in there.
I don't remember when, but I know it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get much done. I did get the table cleaned off and I laid the bed back on there, but
oh, you actually, when did that happen? I missed it. I saw it come by. I didn't see it get laid down.
Yeah, it's that's my big 1/4-inch thick plate.
Jesus.
19 pounds. I don't know if the camera will do it any justice, but can you see the
wow.
You see the lines?
Oh, it looks so small.
So that's the mill marks from the milling head.
Wow.
You can't feel them. There's no texture to it. It's purely like visual. But
is it coated as well somehow?
It's got a PEI sheet on it. I had the guys over at Printed Solid Custom cut me a PEI sheet.
Wow.
And like I'm super protective of it because that's a $150 PEI sheet.
Wow.
But they were kind enough to sponsor that portion of the build. I had a lot of good sponsors with this. Duet sent me the control board for it. E3D sent me the hot end. I have to think about everybody. Walter from over at Country 3D got me the motors for it.
Oh yeah, he was just in a second ago. I saw him or an hour ago, depending on how the time went.
Yeah, because he's been building that Stargate model now for about 5 years. Speaking of people who don't finish projects.
Yeah, I've got a Stargate that's unfinished as well. So I'm with Walter. Walter, I'm with you, buddy. Sorry, who else you got there? You got.
I feel bad for not even remembering. Bondtech supplied the extruder assembly, which actually I reached out to Bondtech originally and asked them if they wanted in on the sponsoring, and I didn't have any material on it at all, just an idea. And they declined. They said, oh, we got enough of our own stuff going on right now and whatever. And when I made the trailer video for it and put that on my YouTube channel, I sent them a link and I said, I just wanted to ask one more time. And they were like, yep, we want in on this.
Oh, cool. So that's it. It's the trailers.
Yeah. And then Joe from Project Red was the one that supplied the Do X board to allow me to do the four motors for the auto leveling. IC3D made my filament. Like I said, it took me a year of badgering them, but I needed a yellow PETG that wasn't transparent and couldn't find one. And so I'm like, listen, I would love for you to make a yellow PETG, but I want you to make it specifically in this color. And it took a year, but there it is. So that is they won't officially name it Fun King 3D Yellow, but
that's what we'll call it.
It's Fun King 3D Yellow. That's what it is.
If David Hewlett says that's what it is, that's what it is. They can't.
That's right. I've named it. Me. McKay's always big on naming stuff.
I can understand. Like we never had the conversation, but like if they were to actually name it that, and then I broke 40. How old am I now? 40, almost 48. Break 48 years of sobriety and have a binge night one night, and I get on my YouTube channel and just completely nuke my YouTube channel. That would affect them. So I can understand. Not
Hey, that's my bid for why all films should be animated now, because I feel like you can't trust actors. You don't know what they're gonna do. No. They're all nuts. They're all nuts.
Everybody's holding everybody so accountable for everything.
Yes.
I mean,
we live in an age of outrage.
Today, but you said something nasty 25 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why I keep saying, like, I think we got to create virtual characters for exactly this reason. And that's a whole other podcast.
Operation Clean Slate. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah. But are there not that I don't think I'm going to be mad enough to try that. I got to build my Prusa first. But are there plans for this up there somewhere, or do you?
There's going to be. I'm going to release them out. I'm just going to give them away to the world and let everybody who wants to build one. And it's scalable. You can change the size. You don't have to build a monster this big. I wouldn't suggest going too much bigger if you ever plan to get it in or out of your house, because that has its own. It's 45 minutes for me to get it down the stairs and out the front door. By myself. If there's somebody helping, like a couple times Uncle Ron has been here to help, and Shane has been here a couple times to help. But
Shane, he's everywhere.
He is everywhere. But so like there's some limitations to scaling it. But I'm just going to give the plans away. I want everybody to be able to do it. But I want to know that when I release the plans, somebody who gets those plans and says, yes, I want to build one, can build one. Not get halfway there and then have to redesign something because I didn't do it right. I want to know that it's functional and that it's somewhat easy. I don't expect me to be able to hand the plans to Xander and Xander be able to build one on his own. There's going to be you're going to have some skill.
Here's a question for you. Could that be adapted as a CNC machine or a laser cutter?
Laser, definitely, but
for CNC might be
not. Yeah, the CNC generally needs to be more stout because you're putting a lot of pressure on the axes. But laser is nothing. I mean, I have a laser on that printer that just sticks on by magnet. The extruder assembly on this, 2 screws, the whole extruder assembly comes off. You can change it out. So like you can have a whole extruder assembly for a 0.6 nozzle and an extruder assembly for a 0.4 nozzle, so that you don't have to change your nozzle. You just, if you have more money than you do time,
as we all do.
That, but yeah, I mean, stuff like that would be really easy to do. There's a guy that I talked to at Orlando Maker Faire that wanted the plans because he wants to turn it into a punch press for doing foam sheets for making foam airplanes.
Huh.
And I thought I would absolutely do that. I mean, it would be overkill for laser because it's so big, but you could use the design and make it only this tall.
Yeah, that's what I was
and
thinking,
absolutely turn it into a laser table.
Mm.
So yeah, like when I decided to do this, I didn't go out and research to see how everybody else did it. I mean, I had a little bit of 3D printer knowledge based on what I had, but like I didn't go out and say, how did this company do this? Once it was no longer a direct ripoff of G-Create, it was from then on, it was just out of my brain. Is it right? I don't know. Is there a better way to do it? Probably, but
right.
You know,
what do you call it?
It's the FK1, the Fun King 1.
FK1, I like it.
Yeah.
Like
so when I was done with the design after James so nicely, shut me down and made me redesign it again.
I made it clear.
I took the design to the first Earth, and I showed it to Sanjay from E3D. Like I went to him to thank him for sponsoring the hot end and stuff, and I said I want you to see, because it didn't exist yet. I only had this book with pictures, and I'm like, I want you to see what it is that you're involved in, and I flip open. I'm so proud. I'm a proud papa, and I flip open the book, and I'm like, here you go. And he looks at it, which felt like forever. And he it was just like a couple seconds. And he goes, why did you make the axis, the extruder move on the long axis instead of the short axis? And I went, because I'm an idiot and you're not. And I had to redesign it all over again, so that, because the extruder, instead of having this big box, it was two rails this way, and just this moved in and out this way, and the extruder was here. But then you're running it on that long, and you're gonna get more slop in it.
Right.
So he's like, make it run on the and I'm like, ugh. So then it was at that point I decided I wasn't showing it to anybody else. I designed it.
I don't want it to be better.
And then I just built it.
I think the important thing to remember is, if you're part of this community, that if you bring your ideas out, somebody is invariably going to have a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes better to just accept the fact that you can learn and you can make your stuff better, versus taking it, because like sometimes it's hard when you show something to somebody and they're like, why didn't you do it this way? It almost feels like a personal attack.
Yeah.
It's like, most people are like-minded in the community and they're just trying to help you. You can then take that feedback or not, because Glenn could also have said, because I felt like it, and then done nothing with the information he was provided, right? Like, fill your boots, but
okay, so full transparency, because I like full transparency. There has been a few times where people would say to me on the internet, well, if I had done it, I'd have done it like this. Right. And I like to reply with, then do it.
Yeah.
Where's yours?
Well, that's the thing is notes are way easier than doing it.
Yeah. Like,
look, you get that with scripts all the time, where you get, when like people will give you a script and say, all right, I want to know what you think. And you'll read the script. You'll say, look, here are the issues that I see. And they're like, and they'll have answers for them. And you're like, well, then why do you want notes? Like, I mean, either there's he stole the name from SG1. Yeah, exactly.
I'm always open. Like, I mean, if somebody said, like in that case, I mean, in the case of James saying, well, what about all the weight of the filament? And I'm like, oh yeah. And I mean, if you imagine like the CR10 design, that's pretty much what the design looked like, only bigger. And then like, make the bed not move. Well, I can't make the bed not move and make it look like that. So that's when it became the 4-post fish tank looking thing, you know. And then I go to Sanjay, and Sanjay's like, I know he's not watching. Sanjay looks like he's 12. Like, I'm an old man, and here's this young little Sanjay, and he's so ridiculously smart. It makes me angry, but yeah, I mean, he's just like, he's so quick with stuff like that. There's no way I'm going to go, forget it. Or, nah, you're an idiot. Like, I mean, he was right. And as soon as he said it,
you realize
I could see it. I mean,
yeah,
as soon as he said it, I'm like, of course,
Well, that's the nature, right? That's the whole that's the whole iterative process, right? I mean, it's not just about inspiration and getting it done. It's about, iterating.
Well, you get stuck in your box. You don't look outside the box.
Yeah.
Like,
and
you
the way
put
you had
something
it
one way, and it's like, I always have to do it that way.
And the way you had it designed would have worked, but the change you made would have increased the print quality. I mean, we'll never know how much, but significantly.
Oh, absolutely. Well, anytime that you're not moving the print,
yeah,
you're better off. And I mean, even from a like a Core XY where the bed drops, you can still, like the cantilevered bed, you're still going to get some bounce in that bed as it moves down.
And that's why I was trying to highlight is the fact that the weight on your bed becomes variable as you print. The weight increases, which means the way it's going to react to any type of change, even if you're talking about a drop, is going to be slightly different, right? So
Right.
You could end up with degradation of print quality over time if you're printing something huge. And it really sucks to get to the end of like a 5-day print. And by the end of 5 day, it just doesn't look good anymore. You know?
I know. Oh, God.
My failures always occur towards the end, never towards.
And even like when you set which a big challenge with this, and, you know, I was going to say, you know, a big challenge with this was, but really still is, I can't go out and download a profile for this. I have to create everything, you know, like, so when it came to setting the currents on the motors, I asked the people that I know that are definitely smarter than me, and I'm like, what should the currents be? And people are like, oh, you know, 900 milliamps should be more than enough. My motors run at like 1.7 amps. You know, because this thing is so mammoth, it's moving so much stuff, you know, so like there isn't a rhyme or reason to what I'm doing, and you're having to constantly learn. But, you know, in a situation like that, James, when you set your original motor current, you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, it runs fine at 950 milliamps until you put 10 pounds of print on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're not going to know that until you put 10 pounds of print on it. And by then, you know, you're a week into a print. And
well, I think it's all of our test prints are like benchies, right? Like they're all these little tiny prints that are designed to be fast and everything like that. And of course, you can set up a printer to print a benchy that weighs next to nothing, and it doesn't really impact that much. Then the first time you try to print something huge, and all of a sudden it's like, oh,
like 1,001% benchy.
Yeah, like 1,001% benchy.
I can't wait to see that. You got to do the time lapse on that.
And
you got
it's going to be magnificent.
You got the Octo printer, the Octo print camera thing on it?
This particular one runs off of a Duet, so it doesn't require Octoprint. It's actually kind of got an Octoprint built into it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So the camera will be external, but
right.
I'm going to make sure at that point that I have a good camera pointing at it. You know,
the other big thing is that the FK1 is a printer that is very well suited to doing time lapses because the model doesn't move. The model is always in the same position, which means it's going to have that effect of coming out of nowhere, right?
Right.
When I have Octoprint set up for my CR10s, and if I do a time lapse, I have to have it set up with Octolapse where it moves the hot end in the bed to the exact same position for each screenshot. Otherwise, all you see is the image like changing like this because the print's in a different position every time it takes a snap.
Right. Yeah. It basically takes it off to a side, takes a shot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It parks the bed in the same spot, moves the extruder over, but then it takes twice as long to print.
I spent so long when I first saw that watching, and I was like, I don't know how they do it. It took me so long to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
And that was then I finally got it. It took me a while.
Before Octolapse, which is the plugin that people use now, before it existed, I spent so much time because Octoprint has a built-in time-lapse function that's, you know, just take a screenshot every 15 seconds or I spent so much time trying to rigidly attach a camera to the bed on my CR10 so that in relation, the image was always the same. And I always ended up with these time lapses that were blurry because all the vibration from the bed's traveling.
Of course. Yeah.
And like to get the camera far enough away from the bed, I'd end up with an arm that's like this long.
Yeah,
so you can capture the entire.
What I have for my Prusa is this big old long arm.
Yeah, and just think of the way the vibrations travel down that as the thing's moving. So.
Of course. Yeah, no, I would set it up on a tripod. So I would put the tripod, and originally I set it up just so I could be so lazy. I could be lying in bed and check the print.
Yep. That's a double-edged sword though, because you end up checking your prints at like 3:00 in the morning when
that's
you wake
it.
up.
So I would set up the webcam here, put it on the computer, and then I can log in and have a look from there.
Yep.
So
I would
put on a separate tripod.
I went as far as to set up this software called Splashtop on one of my computers, which allows you to stream without having to like open a VPN or whatever up. You can basically connect your computer through the streaming software and view what's going on your computer at any given time. So I could monitor my prints remotely, and then like since I had access to the computer, I could then cancel it when something went wrong.
Yes, I remote access into this machine and look at it through the.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah, I was doing that with I had it on the Mac. I would remotely go into that, and I just basically looking at the webcam through that. That's interesting though, because I've never I've only ever printed from SD cards. I've never done a print from the computer.
Octoprint is amazing.
There's a caveat though, because depending on how like snooty you're about your print quality, the print quality is better from an SD card than from Octoprint. And Octoprint does add an additional layer of something to break. It is a separate device that's now feeding your printer.
Yeah, one more thing to go wrong. Yeah,
yeah. I have had prints that failed because Octoprint disconnected from the printer midway through a print.
I did some time ago. That doesn't seem to be an issue as of late. But
so if I'm building this Prusa, then should I build the Octoprint at the same time and build that into it?
Yeah, well, the new ones you can actually put the Pi Zero right in. You can put the Pi Zero right in on the main board.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's gonna be a lot easier. Okay, so I'll look into that as well then, because that seems like I just feel like I'm gonna need that anyways. And also,
it's still an external device, but it isn't. It's actually like you cut out the side of the control box and it plugs right into the main board, and then you can run Octoprint right on a Pi Zero.
That just makes sense. Again, if I'm going to have the bandits at all, I mean, it might be nice to be able to just check on their prints if they're printing stuff overnight and stuff, especially if it's in the garage.
I like to be able, because again, I'm always working over there. I do all my slicing over there, and then I can just send it. All of these have their own Pi on them, and then I just send them to the printer that way. And
Chad is rightfully pointing out, however, the Pi Zero is pretty underpowered. It's like on par with the first generation Pi. You're better off running with a 3 or a 3B higher, especially if you're going to be doing time lapses and stuff with it.
Okay. All right.
It's a larger piece, but there's probably models on Thingiverse.
Yeah, that looks like the general consensus in the chat. Okay, forget I said anything.
Yeah,
I don't have a newer
Pi Zero sucks. Pi Zero sucks. Pi Zero is underpowered. Yeah,
I think there was an issue with the Pi Zero W where it used the processor for part of the actual the wireless chips that also used the processor for some of the work. So if the wireless card was specifically the wireless was particularly busy, it would cause stuttering with your prints.
Right. Okay. All right. But they stopped doing that Pi Zero.
I like the regular Pi. Well, I don't have the option to put a zero in on mine, but I like the regular Pi because I like mine to be hardwired. I run mine through the Ethernet. I don't put them on the Wi-Fi.
Huh. Just because it's just reliability, or?
Yeah, because I had issues with it where like the Pi would drop off the Wi-Fi network, and at that point you'd lose your print. So
right. Okay.
Actually have I ended up, my main print farm is controlled by, I have an old laptop that I installed Linux on, and then I've got 5 instances of Octoprint running under Docker.
Call today, Glenn. I know nothing about Pi Zero, but I'm hearing it might be underpowered.
I don't know. I haven't heard that. I just heard it sucks. It doesn't suck. It just sucks for this, I think. Right? They're saying for this.
That's what I love about this group, man. They don't let me get by with anything.
Okay, I'm gonna have to drop out.
Yes, no, I should go too. I'm sorry. I can talk forever.
Waiting for me for dinner for 50 minutes. So
God. Okay. Well, then no, get out of here.
I might be talking about my divorce next week. We'll see.
I should probably be making dinner at this point. So yes, this was a pleasure, guys. This was fantastic. Thank you.
Well, it was really great having you. I spent the whole week.
You were on a TV show or something?
Yeah. It's all Twitch now.
I spent the whole week over there, like.
Well, let's do it again.
No, before
you are welcome to come back anytime, David.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic.
But before we end it, David, do you have anything that you'd like to plug? Do you want to plug your Twitter? Do you have YouTube? Do you want to plug or Twitch? Any upcoming projects?
I mean, I guess I'll do the usual. My son and I are streaming on Iron Ham TV on Twitch. And my portion of that goes towards My Tech Bandits, which is the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math stuff that I do with sort of local kids. And I'm hoping to actually branch out into. I actually would like it to be open up to everybody eventually. But so come check that out. Twitter, I'm D Hewlett, but generally I'm all over the place. Where there's 3D printing stuff going on, I'm often lurking around as well. So
Tammy also says you should be plugging your Patreon.
Oh, I guess I should do that too. Yes, I guess there's a Patreon for Tech Bandits as well. I just feel weird asking for that stuff. I guess it's at this time. I guess though it is great because I don't have the acting money coming in now, so I have to.
Yeah, but you should never feel weird putting it out there. If people don't want to do it, they're just not going to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there you go.
So and if you want to message me all of that, links and stuff, I'll make sure it gets into the description of this video, because believe it or not, people do watch this later. I don't know why, but they do. So
all Glenn stalkers.
It's like, and cue the chat.
Well, I'm not saying that they like watch it again later. I'm just saying that like people who didn't get to watch it live do go in.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, and I always feel really weird about that stuff because I haven't figured it out. But yes, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
So well, and like I was going to ask before we even started today on like how you wanted this to go, because I was really afraid that it was going to become where everybody in the chat just wanted to ask you questions about Stargate, and I know that there's other things in your life besides Stargate, and I didn't want it to just.
I'm always happy to talk about it. What's funny is I think I'm online so much now that people are sort of running out of questions, and they're realizing that there's there's lots of other exciting stuff to play with.
Glenn and I always try to figure out where we like toss up our our links for our videos and streams and stuff like that. So I mentioned, I'm like, should I post in the Stargate subreddit that this is going on? And then we both come to sense like all of chat could end up just being Stargate questions, and like you came in here to geek out on 3D printing stuff. So
yeah. When James said that, my first thought was, yeah, that's a whole audience that I've never touched before. Definitely, and then I'm thinking. But then they could just come in and like completely bogart the chat and make it all.
Well, it's so funny because I've been really bad because I've sort of been concentrating on our chat, not on the chat. So I don't know if I missed any questions, but usually I think what's been kind of cool is that I think people come for Stargate and then very quickly realize that this isn't Stargate. This is just nerd David. You know what I mean? Like so, and for the most part, most of the Stargate people are into this stuff too. So. They've for the most part been incredibly respectful and incredibly just sort of excited about it. Like I guess it's sort of as I say, it's that contagious curiosity, right? This guy did Stargate? No way. Yeah, there you go.
Also, David being part of the stream was actually his idea.
Was it really?
You and I talked after the 14
being part of the stream.
You said we didn't get a chance to chat. Why don't we do our own stream? And I was like, well, Glenn and I do a stream every Sunday. Why don't you swing by for that?
That's great. No, that's fantastic. Well, I just felt bad because we did the 1440 thing, and I think I ended up
good ideas during that thing. Like it was really hard to like not get a word in edgeway, but there's so many cool ideas that none of them really got a ton of focus the way they maybe could have.
It's like the difference between a dinner party and going out for a beer. Like this is nice because everyone gets to get their piece in. When you get into the dinner party mode, it's kind of hard because everyone's got stuff to stay. So
yeah.
All right, get out of here. Go save your marriage. I'm gonna go make a dinner.
You stuck with me until COVID's over, anyways.
So. Do you have anything that you want to plug, James?
Not really. I mean, I think everybody. I don't even know if the outro is worth it anymore. Everybody here. I'm at JC Print and Play on Twitter. I'm Print and Play on YouTube. I think I'm JC Print and Play on Patreon. I got yelled at last week because I didn't know what my own Patreon account was called. I'm like,
I don't know what it's called. I don't know mine. I'm terrible.
Yeah. Like, you need to send it to me so I can make sure that those are in the description because mine's in the description.
Every time I get a Patreon support, I'm like, I'm surprised by this. Thank you. I'm humbled that you would back me. But yeah, that's it. At some point in the future, I've got a video coming out on the Stream Deck that's totally gonna have a 3D printed shell.
That's what I want to. Yeah, I want to find out about that too because I love that. That's something that Baz has been bugging us about.
Well, it
sounds like you could just buy one.
Well, it's all Arduino based, and that I think building it's like less than $20 in terms of parts.
Right, and buying one, it's $100 when you find them on sale. So
I love the Arduino.
And the unique configuration about that one is that it has 9 buttons, 8 of them are programmable, and then the 9th one is to cycle between modes. And since it uses the file system on the SD card, you can actually have infinite configurations.
Oh, I love it.
Like, so you can have like one, and each configuration can have a name. So it's like, this is for when I'm in AutoCAD. So I name AutoCAD 1, AutoCAD 2, and you can switch between it. Then, now I'm doing streaming. So I switch to my streaming configuration, or now I'm doing, So that was
that's fantastic.
As robust as possible. And then because I'm a cheapskate, make it as cheap as possible.
Yeah, that's great. And I love, Arduino in general. I just love working with Arduinos. Yeah, we got to do this again. We got too much to talk about.
Absolutely. And then the next project video for me will be the little thing.
See how well our fans know me?
Yeah, that's right.
Our community is the bestest. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the point where I say every week that we want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here, because without you guys, these streams would be useless. Not necessarily so much today's, because I could spend hours talking to David and be just fine without you guys, but
and not me.
Appreciate you guys being here.
David.
What's that?
You said specifically you could spend hours talking to David. James can go away.
We've already spent hours talking to James.
Yeah, James and I could just like sit in a room and not talk to each other and be fine.
I'm going to show up next week and my name's going to be taken off the placard from the beginning of the show, and it's with 3D printing with Glenn.
That's it. Yeah.
Glenn and Dave, yeah.
Why you should be on this?
And then eventually it's just me.
We thank you guys for being here, and for those of you who tuned into my impromptu live stream last night, I appreciate it. If you haven't watched that video from last night, go watch it.
Was that the unboxing? Was the unboxing the live?
Funny. It was a MakerBox unboxing, and
I started watching that. Yeah.
We do the MakerBox unboxing every week. I'm a big MakerBox fan, or every month, and so that was actually April's. We were a little behind, and we wanted to do it as though we were social distancing. It took
COVID. Me a while to clue in. I was like, wait a second, why are they don't they live together? Like I was trying to figure it out.
So
then you start tossing filament between the cameras.
And we'd always kind of joked around as doing one live, and then I always thought, well, we'll do it one day, and then it was like 8:00 last night. My wife goes, "Do it live," and I'm like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, just do it live." And 20 minutes later, we were live. So it was a lot of anxiety, but.
Oh God, it was fun. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was enjoying it. Yeah. And I love how like laid back your son is about it too. Like, yeah, fine, I'll read this one. But the filament just sort of lands in his screen.
Well, it was the hitting him. If you didn't get to the part where I hit him in the head with the box of nerds, that's the part you got to watch.
Oh no, I missed that. Highlight reel.
Go into the comments. He posted the link to the exact time, but slow the playback to 0.25. And watch the box and nerds come in. It's
nice.
It's just brilliant. So
and then call child services.
Yeah, it's a fun spin on child abuse everywhere.
Yeah.
For nerds, whatever. So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back, of course, next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Fun King 3D. I do actually have another MakerBox video coming out this week, which will then bring me current. That'll be the May box. And it's almost time for the June box to get here. So, but that video will be out this week. Other than that, check out youtube.com/PeglegPaul. That's Xander's gaming channel.
Oh, cool. Pegleg Paul. Baz. You got to check out Pegleg Paul.
Pegleg Paul. Yeah, PeglegPaul.com.
All right, done.
Everybody unsubscribe from Xander now.
Mike said, no, you hang up. All right, guys. So thank you guys so much. Love each and every one of you. And until next time, as always, print on.
Print on.